Welcome, everybody. THORChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX, and now you can use it with every Bitcoin wallet in the world, and you don't have to connect it to a website. Same with Ethereum, XRP, BNB, Tron, Doge, and more. Eventually, you'll be able to swap from any token, from any wallet to any token. It's coming, baby. THORChain is turning into a full layer 1 liquidity engine where apps can be built on top of it. The new app layer, Rujira, unlocks lending, perps, Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, token launchpad, NFTs, prediction markets, and so much more. You guys, THORChain isn't just a DEX, it is becoming the protocol of true, uncensorable liquidity. Swapping on THORChain is permissionless, it's really easy, no KYC. Anyone in the world can do it. To swap on THORChain, go to thorchain.org and click on swap. There's going to be new features and functionality coming, you guys. If you see any problems whatsoever, we have a little email icon in there that you can submit a request. But so far, things have been going pretty good. I guess Kenton can touch on that later. Very important, guys. THORChain's token is called RUNE. That is spelled R-U-N-E. You don't need to buy or hold RUNE to place a swap on THORChain. But the yield from your swap, the fees from your swap is the yield that goes to liquidity pools and nodes. And there are no block rewards on THORChain. 100% of the yield is real. THORChain is also deflationary with 5% of the revenue being burned. You guys, if you hold a RUNE on a centralized exchange, you need to withdraw that into self-custody immediately because that RUNE can be used to short sell and drive the price down on us. And once you guys do that, consider bonding your RUNE to a node to earn on those fees we talked about. A great website is runebond.com. Super easy to do. All you have to do is click a node, request a whitelist, and then bond your RUNE. Shout out to the community, guys. We've had a lot of people ask, actually step up to be node operators. We're always asking, guys, if you have technical skill, you want to become a node operator on THORChain, they want to improve the decentralization of the network, please reach out. We will get you the materials that you need. There's a great account, RuneTard on X. I know it's a silly name. Great man. R-U-N-E Tard on X. Guys, there's another place here. THORChain has another token called TCY. This token is kind of like a preferred stock where 10% of the protocol's revenue goes to these token holders. If you deposit crypto into savers or took out a loan on THORChain, make sure you can make sure you get these tokens and start earning yield. And anyone can buy these tokens as well. There's a THORChain community Discord and Telegram. You can join, learn all about THORChain, make lots of friends. To go find the links, go to @THORCommunity account on X. You guys, this is our first stream. I'm so excited. I'm glad we're doing this. I'm so very happy. Kenton, I'm gonna kick it to you. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Literally.
Yeah,
See you.
yeah. I did put my follow on Discord button there. Yeah, good. Thank you. We finally figured this out, or mostly figured out. Still some bugs. I appreciate everyone's patience. I wore my favorite shirt to celebrate. Um, so yeah. Apologize for. I don't know what's wrong with Riverside, guys. It just doesn't want to work with Twitter. It's been really difficult. So I've been back and forth with their support desk, and seems like we've got it working now. So hopefully we'll be able to start using this going forward instead of the spaces. And so right now we're live on Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn through the THORChain accounts. And eventually we'll be able to go live on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But we need you guys, we need followers. So we need to get to 1,000 followers on those platforms before we can live stream. So even if you just make up an account, go follow us, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, please. That'll be great. And maybe give you a little bit of an update here. I'll talk first about the website, the front end. So we got permalinks done. So if it's like Bitcoin to AVAX, it'll show now in the URL, and we'll be able to use those on sites like CoinGecko or MarketCap if they're showing like whatever pool, we can link directly to that trade, to that swap. And then we're going to create individual pages for those swaps. So like, I think I muted you by accident. I muted you, Chad. I'm going to unmute you. Just in case you want to jump in. So we're going to have individual landing pages for each pair to try and get those ranking on SEO. Different ways for people to find us. So the idea with the website like we're gonna quite literally probably have like thousands of pages, instead of like a dozen or 15. And so, and the idea is that whatever people are searching online, they'll find us. We finished migrating over the whole blog. So from all the blog posts from Medium, across like 7 different authors are all now on the THORChain blog, including Rajira. So all their blog posts, all those articles are now on the THORChain site. That's over 500 articles. Um, and so again, we're hoping that helps with SEO, but more importantly, just for you guys, like the average person, to if you want to look into THORChain and learn about it, now you can go to one place and you can do it, right? And you can sign up to the email list to be updated on the new articles, and you can be more confident that those articles are coming from a trusted source, right? There's scam authors on Medium that write articles about THORChain and stuff that link to malicious sites and whatnot. So this way, the reader, the user, can be more confident it's coming from THORChain.org that it's safe. So checks off a lot of boxes for us to do that. Um, um, yeah, the streaming swap settings are kind of done. I was talking to the guys. I think they can do a better job, with the UI. Um, limit swaps, they've been playing with them, but they can't cancel the order. They're having trouble with that. So they're playing the desert figuring out before it goes live. They wanted to go live with it. I'm like, nah, don't. I don't think we should go live with it. We can't cancel the orders. So um, they're working on that right now. Um, I've been okay. So the website, like the refresh, redesign, rewriting things. That hopefully that's all gonna be done in about 2 weeks. Um, and then along with updating the colors and stuff on the swap page, so it all looks like it's the same site. So we're getting close to being done. And then the next phase will be like actually promoting it, marketing it, like, trying to get users there. So starting to start thinking about paid ads. And I'm thinking we'll probably maybe try with CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap first, because I've gotten to the point on those platforms with bRUNE and TCY, those pages. I don't know if you guys wasn't paying attention, but like I've been updating them as much as possible. And CoinGecko has been great. CoinMarketCap is a bit more difficult to deal with, but I've kind of reached to the limit of where they're like done doing stuff for free. Now they want to charge us. So, like for example, on CoinGecko, um, we give the new API endpoints to point to all the exchange data, so we can have the volumes and everything update, and be on Gecko Terminal. Um, they said, okay, well, either you can wait 8 weeks for it to go through, or you can pay 15 grand and have it done right away. I'm like, well, we'll wait. But I said, but we aren't interested in paid ads. So, maybe I can work a deal with them that whatever we pay on paid ads, we can get this stuff up sooner. So I'm going to talk to them next week about it. So I'm going to try and do that, try to leverage us what we pay in paid ads to get things updated on our token pages. The price history on TCY isn't, it's off by a month on CoinGecko. The market cap data is off by several months. They told me they can't change it. I'm going to keep pushing, see if they can. When I talk about paid ad, if you pay people money, they're willing to do a lot of things, right? Um, and on CoinMarketCap, they can update the old TCY price data for 10 grand. And so again, I'm like, well, no. So I'm gonna talk to the ads people and see if we can just, work out a deal. Um, so I'm trying to get like CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap done so that, when we start doing more paid promotion and people actually start looking into THORChain, and they look up Rune. Oh, everything is done. What do you do the first time you hear about a token? I always go to CoinGecko and go check it out. Right, like you go to their website. Oh, our website's all done. All looks good. It's nice and clean. It all works. Like so, we kind of want to have everything tidied up before we start spending money on bringing people into our to come see us. So we're getting close to that being done. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to like 3 months from now. We should have everything looking spiffy and kind of be neck deep in paid ads, and we'll have should start to have an idea what's working or not. I fingers crossed. Like, if we promote on CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, like, generally all the other everyone else is paying for advertising there are exchanges. So it must work for them, right? If they keep doing it. So hopefully it'll work for us. And just be a matter of, deciding, what's the cost benefit, what to dial up, what to dial back. We might have to do I'm sure we'll have to do trial and error, what banners work, which ones don't. But, all their advertising I see there is other exchanges. So I like to think if it's worth it for them, it'll be worth it for us. So yeah, looking forward to trying that.
Awesome, man. Sounds good. Very cool. I'd love it. Why, Chad?
So what they must wonder what is over there that we get. Chad, I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, a little far from Mike. Sounds like.
Oh, uh, should be using my AirPods, so it
There
should
you go.
be.
No, you sound good now.
Wonder if it's okay. Let me know if it gets worse. I'm just gonna test it.
Got worse. It was better before.
Yeah, right. You said.
It's saying that it's using my AirPods, but it's like actually using the mic of my thing.
You're using the mic of your computer because it sounds loud.
Yeah, but it says AirPods. Okay, I will fix that somehow. I was gonna say that those exchanges have like much bigger budgets than we do. So when they're advertising on Market Cap or what have you, like I'm not sure how much that's going to play a role in that kind of stuff.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
How do you since we're a DEX and these are centralized players, how do you think about the angling of the marketing from that front? Like just go to our website and like because rather it's like when you go to a centralized exchange, you sacrifice custody, like um well, do a lot of DEXs advertise well, or is it mostly just sexes, like as you said?
I think it's mostly sexes.
Really?
Yeah. I seen the odd like well, usually it's either sexes or like some weird NFT project or something. I don't know. But basically that's gonna be it. Like, we're gonna have to just try different taglines. Like, try the world's biggest Bitcoin DEX. You know, Bitcoin to Ethereum swaps. Try here. Like, we're gonna have to try some different things, right? And we won't know which is gonna work. This is gonna be the problem. We're gonna spend a lot of money trying to figure out what works, and and it could take a while. So that's the thing too. If we spend, ideally we'll only have to spend several grand to try, a few grand to try each iteration, but then it just takes time. So what we might save in dollars, we're going to spend in time trying to figure it out. And then as something starts working, okay, then fine. I mean, we dial up the dollars, but then it stops working. Okay, shoot, when we get to go kind of back to square one. Maybe CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap just isn't working. We gotta try their platforms. Like I've heard Block Explorer platforms like Etherscan and whatnot. I heard those are good. And if you're checking a transaction on a Block Explorer, you're a power user, right? You know what you're doing. So no KYC Bitcoin DEX that should register, right? So it's gonna be a lot. Honestly, it's gonna be trial and error. But like there's gonna be no mention of THORChain. People don't care about THORChain, right? They care about no KYC. They care about Bitcoin on a DEX. Um, trading self custody. Like we have to tap into those benefits somehow, right? And get that going. So maybe we'll have the lightning bolt logo or something like that. But it's not going to be like, hey, come use THORChain. Like that's meaningless. What does that tell me or do for me, right? So and I think we have to hammer home the Bitcoin message, like swap Bitcoin. Like that's obviously the volume, right? Um, swap Bitcoin for Tether, swap Bitcoin for ETH. Like, maybe we're on like an Avalanche block explorer, swap AVAX for Bitcoin, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where we're going to start.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And then, I like your idea of the Blog Explorer thing. And if you could especially target demographics, maybe in particular countries with a higher affinity for that, right? I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do. So yeah, really cool. I
That
like it.
that too. So it's like, um, the unbanked, people who can't use sexes who actually need THORChain, right? Um, I get it. They're smaller, um, maybe smaller sized traders, but they're also cheaper to promote to too, right? So it's like, we got to play with all this, right? So the answer is we want to try it all, and like, um, I do have high hopes for I have thought about that. Like, man, we should be able to corner Nigeria, for example. Like everyone in Nigeria should be using THORChain. Um, and even like Binance was supporting a lot of these second, third world countries, and those people are starting to get their accounts closed and frozen. So, um, yeah, that's a huge market for us. So this is the other thing. So we want to get like the swap interface and website translate into multiple different languages, and so we want to get everything done, and then we can translate everything. And I want to use humans, not AI, right? So it's translated properly. Then there'll be a button at the top, whichever flag you are. Um, and then maybe even try some articles in other languages and just see how it goes. And again, those are much cheaper because they're smaller markets, but maybe we'll have much higher conversion because it's actually we're solving a problem that's immediate for them. Whereas like in the West, our problem is everyone is on sexes still. We got to pry them off, right? So, um, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of trial and error.
We have multiple languages in Telegram Thor chats, right? That Russian, Chinese, all the different ones. So I could reach out to them if you need people to translate. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to do it.
Oh, that'd be 100%. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, Russian, and Spanish is what I'm thinking our first five.
Got you.
And then after that, I don't know, maybe Hindi. I don't know. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Or if there's or people in the Telegram, if they're like, if you find that there's some other language, but we actually have a big, how do I say this? Like maybe it's not a widely spoken language, but there's a lot of people in that country that like THORChain, for example. Right? Okay, well, we'll do them first, right? Like, you know, um, give our users what they want, right? So yeah.
All right, there we go. Well, all right, that's cool, man. I love it. We'll just keep going, do what you're doing. I love it. Chad, how you doing, man? It's been 2 weeks. How are things going?
You guys can still hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, man, things are going good. I don't know, good to be back. Good to see you all.
Likewise, sir. I've noticed some more pushes from Hugin. How's Hugin doing?
Humans are going okay. It's actually been like more difficult to get the infrastructure running the way I wanted to than I initially kind of thought it was going to be. I mean, that's okay. Just working through some kinks and some like edge cases and that kind of stuff. Right now it's just churning through tickets, which is I don't even know how much. It's kind of a lot. I don't know what actually I had to look, but like for the next release 316. I think Hugin will have more code changes in terms of like number of MRs, merge requests, than any human. I think it'd be kind of close, but that'd be very interesting. Just that it's contributed that many MRs that quickly, which is pretty nice. I mean, those MRs are pretty small and like they're not like big changes. They're just kind of like it's kind of like a bottom feeder, so to speak, just kind of cleaning up some loose edges and that kind of stuff. But it's been helpful so far. I'm excited to keep it going and like expanding into more things like doing like reviewing other people's codes, review human codes changes, and then be able to talk to it through my own MRs so I could like, hey, fix this linting issue, like some small thing that I don't really care about, like that it can do it real quick and easy without me spending my time on it. Anything it allows me to free up my time, I'm probably going to be in favor of for obvious reasons.
That's
Um,
crazy, man. That's so I know those small, but here's the thing, people who don't know, you started doing this like last month over the Christmas, New Year break,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
more wow.
yeah. A lot's happened in a relatively short period of time. Um, but yeah, a lot more to go. I want to start reviewing those code. I wanted um, to monitor mainnet. I think that's going to be probably the most complicated thing to do. I mean, like, it sounds easier than it actually is. I think like once you get into the nitty gritty and start kind of implementation details, it'll probably get really complicated really fast. And then I'm actually surprised of like how much false positives there are. How much like I would have thought there'd be less than there are. So when you get to mainnet and you get to like monitoring, mainnet's metrics and logs and various things, Mamirs, whatever. And it's to get it to be so it's accurate, so that I can actually differentiate between what is a real issue versus what is a hallucinated issue, right? And I think that's going to be kind of a challenge to get that to be consistent, and or at least a reasonably high signal to noise ratio to some degree at least. I'm actually that's gonna be pretty. I think it's gonna be pretty challenging when I get to that part. So I'm kind of saving the most difficult part to last in some ways. But I'll be pushing on that a little bit on the sides whenever I have free time or to work on the stuff. I try to find some time to do it.
Well, we actually have a question here. Thank you, with the code, for answering. But this is real life feedback, guys. So please use the public chat function to give us questions. But this is actually the question I'm glad he asked it, because it kind of gets to what I wanted to ask you, Chad. Is Hugin is like really new, right? You're just figuring it out, but now it has more pushes than you yourself, and you do a lot. So his question is, how hard would it be to add BSV, which was that Bitcoin Satoshi's vision or something? It's a hard fork of Bitcoin Cash, if I remember correctly. Um, and so, the answer is, it's a UTXO based. We would just have to make the chain client. But I kind of want to take his question, add a little qualifier to it. With Hugin, do you see a time in the future where it's a UTXO chain that we've added? Could you just have the Hugin help? We have a chain client team that's being practiced right now. Hey, Hugin, build the chain client for BSV, since we've already done UTXOs. Is that possible, or is it coming soon?
Um, um, I would say in the current moment, no. And the reason why I say that is because um, how do I put this? Like, it's kind of like, so in the term of like, there's a concept called one shot or two shot in in the AI coding world. And what that means is like, can I build something in a single prompt? Like let's call it a one shot. Like, can I in a single prompt without doing anything more? I just have a single prompt that says blah blah blah, build me this feature, whatever this thing is, and then hit enter, and then I come back an hour later and it's like perfectly done, everything's great, perfect, testing is good, blah blah, blah, all those things. And I think like we're pretty far away from the kind of one shot world because there's so much lack of determinism within the AI coding world right now that it's so unpredictable about how good the results will actually be. And so I think it's like it's not really ready for that kind of level of automation. I don't think the models are quite there yet. And maybe there's some improvements we can make on the quality of our prompt, and we can, insert something like, for anybody who knows what I'm referring to, something called Ralph Wiggum, which is named after the Simpsons character, to help kind of create more a better outcome. But like, I don't think we're there quite yet. Right now, it's just working on like kind of small issues, small things that I don't mind one shotting. It's a simple change. It's kind of harder to get it wrong. And if Hugin does get it wrong, I can comment in his PR, his MR, and say, hey, you did this wrong, go do it this other kind of way. And then Hugin will take that advice and then like, rewrite the merge request and with my kind of my prompt that I put through GitLab. I don't think we're quite there yet. I wouldn't want to do any major features, and chain clients are a little bit more tricky because it's not just about developing the code. There's also like just testing it in a StageNet environment and, see if it actually works. And obviously Hugin is not really in a place to do that because that usually requires like real capital or real money to do those things, which I'm pretty far away from giving Hugin like real money. Just because I don't know what the hell it's gonna do with it. uh, So maybe one day, but I think right now I'm just focusing on just getting the basic framework and the basic kind of like, the main streets of the system to be like functional and working and somewhat reliable. And then if you want to expand into more complicated tasks like creating a chain client, for example, I think we're going to need more time for the harness, the tools, the models, all these things to kind of grow over the next 6 to 12 months, and then we can kind of revisit it later. But right now, just focus on just kind of creating the basic kind of roads that we need for this whole system to be connected, and then we can worry about growing it to more advanced tasks or being more involved in other ways into the future.
What would you say it's done? So all the things it's pushing right now, what is the net benefit of? What's the positive? Is it making THORChain just taking out more edge cases? Is it making it more efficient, less computational power needed? What would you say is the
Yeah,
main thing it's doing?
right now it's just doing some like small cleanup things. A lot of them is like, simple verification things we're not doing now that really don't matter. Like if we don't do these verifications, nothing is broken. It's just that it's good to have verifying the same thing a second time or even a third time, just to create layers of security or layers of like expected behavior or whatever. So it's like it's very small and there's not a huge value add to the code base. It's just kind of finding really small tasks that I probably would not have spent my own personal time to fix because it's just not worth my time, and it's doing those little small things for us. But as it kind of grows and matures, that might change into the future. Like I can see a world, not that far in the future where I think of some task that needs to get done and I write a GitLab issue and I just assign Hugen, this GitLab issue, and then it just runs off and gets it done and then, notifies me when the merge request is available, and for review. And then I review it and I comment on it like I would like a human person for the most part. And that could happen into the future. But right now I'm just trying to get like that basic kind of streets and sidewalks and kind of like infrastructure kind of all working and getting kind of ironing out the rough edges and getting that to be more reliable. And then we can worry about giving it more advanced stuff later on.
Is it like you mentioned all these merge requests, and so many like how do you know that this actually quality work? Like that it's okay to push that stuff through?
Yeah, so a lot of these issues Hugen itself had found, like, hey, like this is a bug here, right? And so when it does that, it creates a GitLab issue that's confidential, meaning that only I can see it along with the other devs and whatnot. And then myself and the other devs and the security team, the THORSec team, we will read through these things and have conversations about these and say, oh, this is an issue, it can be fixed, or this is not an issue, we can just go ahead and close this one. It's not a big deal. Not even bother. Oh, this is a false positive or something like this. And then for the ones we want to get done, we will, assign Hugen this particular task. And Hugen will, basically maintain 3 merge requests at all time. So as soon as we merge one request, it'll go to the GitLab and say, oh, there's, 100 more GitLab issues. I'm making up a number here, but whatever the number actually is. And then it'll just grab another one off the shelf, so to speak, open a merge request, waiting for humans to review. So it's the same like review process as it would be for me, right? Like if I was going to make a code change, I would make a code change, put it up, and then I would require 2 other people, which would not be me, to review that code change and comment and whatever that whole process. Hugen goes through the identical process as that. And so either myself or Ursa or somebody from the THORSec team or whomever, Bjorn, whatever, will go through it and review those code changes and, accept it and approve or comment and deny or whatever the thing is.
Does that create more work for you guys though? Like if
Sure.
Hugan keeps pushing through these PRs that like aren't good, you spend all this time reviewing it, rejecting it, and you're just going back and forth, back and forth. Is it could this could this actually end up wasting you guys more time than it helps save, or is it no? It's actually been working out pretty good.
Well, so this gets into like an interesting debate within like software engineering in general. So like in our world, we have this term what we call tech debt. And the idea of tech debt is that like there's some things about the code that could be cleaned up, could be refactored, could, backfill some unit tests. It could, oh, we could improve the performance of this function so that it's, 3 times faster, And so there's always like a balance that engineering teams have to make between, cleaning up tech debt and, launching new features, right? Or whatever, right? And that's always just like different people have different ideas of like how much we should put on one versus the other. And you just through consensus of the team, you kind of determine where we want to sit and like who's going to be working on, major features and who's going to be working on, you know, patching this bug or, whatever the things are. And so it can get to a place where you can enamor the entire dev team just by digging through tech debt. And for some engineers, they're like, that's their mentality. Like they're out there like we should be focusing primarily on tech debt and new features secondarily. And some people think the other way around. So the nice thing is that like we do get to control like how much of this we want to do. So um for these issues, we spent a lot of time actually looking into these various GitLab issues that Hugin was creating, in part because Hugin established these things as being a P0 or P1, like being a very high priority, a very, very important thing. Oftentimes, Hugin just doesn't really quite get the context well enough, and it's not as high priority as Hugin believes that it is. But sometimes, in rare occasions, it was an actual P0 or it was an actual P1 and actually should get fixed really quickly. So it does require us to go through and kind of validate these things that it's bringing up. But we get to kind of decide which one of these we actually want to spend time on and which ones we don't. And the fact that Hugin really does all the work, we just have to like just review these code changes. And again, these code changes are very small. They're not like massive, features or anything like this. So they don't take that much time to actually review. And sometimes it's like the code change is kind of bogus and we don't even want to fix this thing the way it's talking about it. And maybe the better thing to do is just to add a comment to the code explaining why it is the way it is and why we want it to be the way it is. Like that's a few times that's happened that way, where I'll just tell Hugin like undo all your changes and this is the expected behavior and just add a comment explaining why this is the expected behavior so that not only for humans to understand this into the future, but also for Hugin the next time it's running its, a brand new fresh context that it understands that this is intentionally for this reason or whatever. So it can go both ways. And it's just a question of like kind of prioritization and these kind of things. And for these issues, like Hugin's working on right now, these are very small, very easy changes, nothing complicated. They're easy to fix. They're easy to review. It's not that much time. I think I'm spending a lot more time just working on Hugin itself and the actual like Python code that runs all this stuff and trying to work out these like weird edge cases that I'm kind of stumbling into and getting these things to be more consistent and reliable.
I just interrupt you guys for a sec. JC, if you're trying to get in, oh, there you are. I'm going to let you in. Okay. So if anybody wants to join, to come up and ask questions, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Hopefully you can see it. And then also too, can you guys kind of give me like a thumbs up or thumbs down if how the audio is working on your platform? Some people are complaining that it's cutting in and out on Twitter. Whatever platform you're listening, can you kind of give us some feedback if the audio and the video is working good or bad? I'd appreciate it. But yeah, JC, I just brought you on. I don't know if you have a question for Chad about the AI or not.
JC, if you're trying to speak, we can't hear your mic, buddy.
Not trying to speak. I was just joining. I wasn't sure what the call was about.
All right. So, all right. Be wait. Big dog thing.
Just stay randomly and don't know where I am.
All right, JC. We'll see you later, buddy.
JC.
How do I'm gonna ask you to leave. Thanks, man.
Legend. Hey Chad. So okay, 3.15 has been pushed. It is live. Can we have a limit order update? Like, how's the behavior? How's it looking? I've seen some people starting to use it. Any impressions so far?
I haven't got any questions from anybody quite yet. One person was asking questions about cancellation. I know Kenton referred to something earlier in the conversation about that. So I'm still wrapping my head around what the issue actually is, or if there is an issue or what. Like, it's not really clear to me at this point. So I haven't heard that much feedback quite yet, but I'm sure I will in the coming coming days or weeks, whatever.
Okay, perfect. So nothing too obvious besides what Kenton has said. Okay, very cool. So Solana is coming, right? February 4th, roughly. Don't crucify us, guys, if it's not exactly on the day. Node operators are currently voting on which RPC provider they're going to be choosing, or sometimes people are self-hosting. We will the right now, if I remember correctly, 25% does not want to be exceeded on RPCs. Do you have any insight on how that's going?
Or 25. I thought it was 20.
I saw 25% on an alert. So maybe let's go, maybe it's 20, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay.
I saw 25%, but that could be wrong. I thought it was
Okay.
20% too initially, but then I saw 25%. So
Okay. I'll give you.
I'm not sure. Do you know, Chad? A little ambiguity there.
I haven't looked, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's say it's 25%, just, because that would be, how you feeling about it, Chad? Anything to share on that at all with Solana? I know people are really excited for it. That's one thing that people were on STO were swapping to and from was Solana. So I think they're really looking forward to this.
Yeah, no, Solana's like was the right choice. In terms of the next chain, Solana and Zcash I think are fairly obvious to be the kind of the higher value ones. I'd be very curious to see how much adoption we get in terms of like volume relative to all the other volume, like relative to our Bitcoin volume, for example. And I'm curious to see like how much that correlates or doesn't correlate with like Near and their volumes. We'll see. I'll keep an eye on it in the future, but it'll be interesting to watch.
I have a bunch of questions about pools, but first, Richie, you joined. Do you have anything you want to say, or you want to jump in? That question?
Yeah, I did. Guys, thank you very much for letting me up on stage here. Kenton, Denny, it's always a pleasure to talk with you guys. Chad, love speaking with you, man. It's really fun to interview you and do the founder-led content. I just really wanted to quickly get an update on Hugin, because I missed the beginning, actually. How are things going there? Can the community expect? I understand it's going in two very different directions. I'm very bullish on the community aspect. And so what's the latest updates with Hugin here?
Well, I kind of went through that a little while ago. A quick little TLDR would be that it's continuing to work. It's actually doing, I think it's doing more MRs than humans are, than any particular human at this point. Mostly just very small, kind of like quality of life changes that aren't really consequential for the most part, but just kind of helping, and just kind of cleaning up some old kind of tech debt in some ways. I'm still pushing on it. I'm still kind of improving its kind of reliability and fixing some bugs here and there. And I think my next major thing that I will work with that is just for it to start to review other humans' code and start doing code reviews autonomously. That's probably the next thing I want to work on once I get everything else kind of as smooth as I want it to be. But yeah, it's working and quite well so far.
Are you putting more and more time into this? Like, is it absorbing your time and energy? Is it a fun project? Is it something that you're deeply committed to?
Well, it definitely is a fun project, something I've been wanting to do for, like, I talked about this. I talked about doing this when I came back to THORChain like 9 months ago or 8 months ago or 7, whatever the number was. I talked about this being one of my larger goals is to start exploring, using AI in the development process and other places as well within our community. But I've been thinking about this for quite a while. It's never been high enough priority. And then over the Christmas break, where I had a few extra days to myself, I actually took advantage of that free time to kind of start kind of spinning my wheels on it. But yeah, I do spend some time on it, not as much as I would like to, because I do have to write code myself and review other people's code and fix, look into mainnet bugs or issues or whatever it is. So it comes second to those things. But whenever I do have some spare time, or like I just do things in parallel. In some cases, I do try to put a good amount of effort and time into it and develop this so we can get to a much more mature spot. As I was saying before, I think I told you, Richie, in our earlier conversation that like you always want to build these things for the AI model of the future, not so much the AI model of today. And so I try to get this stuff ready over the next 3 months, maybe 6 months to be fully functional and doing all the things, the major things I want it to be doing. So by the time, Opus 5 or Sonnet 5 or whatever comes out, that it's going to be already like fully integrated at that point. And so that we're going to get a lot of value just from just being prepared.
Well, look, I hope you have a lot of fun on it. The community, I hope that we can get something out of this as well. It sounds like you're making great gains there. Final question I have from me was that THORChain has smashed DeFi records with the size of the swap trades. How do you celebrate that? This is a really cool success for THORChain, for the ecosystem, for the community, for everybody involved. How do you celebrate that? Because of course we get excited about this. And then I'm going to hop off. I'm not going to steal the show away from Denny and Kento.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to celebrate too much.
Well, a big pat on the back.
But maybe a little pat on the back. I think in that particular instance, a lot of that volume was stolen assets from somebody else apparently. We actually saw another trade today. I don't know if everybody noticed this, but we saw about a $12 million trade from let's go ETH to Stables, I think it was, or Stables to ETH. I can't remember which direction it was. But when you get to like trades of that size, we talk about like multi-millions or something larger than the pools or whatever, like we should be a little bit cautious. When you're dealing with swaps of that size, there's good reason to believe that's likely or possible to be, stolen funds in one form or another. But who knows? You never know if it's legitimate or not legitimate. Like sometimes it's impossible to even know the answers to these questions. But it's good to get the volume.
These are OTC like volume trades.
Yes. Right.
It really are. And something like, I think I read it recently, something like 90% of OTC trades, they fail because of the element of trust.
Yeah. I mean, OTC trades are anything over like 100K would be considered to be like an OTC level trade. And we've talked about, and I think me and Kenton had a conversation a while back about like changing the fees system of THORChain to be scaling with the size of the trade, because like if you go to a Coinbase or a Kraken or one of these kind of characters, like you get a better trade execution with an OTC trade. You get, a little bit more white glove, handheld kind of service, but you also get a better execution because you're doing such a large volume. And we talked about in the past the idea of like us doing that for our trades to reduce our fees, which maybe we'll do. I think there's maybe not a lot of reason to do that now because for whatever reasons, other competitors like Near and Chainflip, they don't do trades of this kind of size, of this like 11 million trade you saw today, which is probably the reason why we're even getting the trade, is because they're not competitive with us, because they don't even offer a quote at that size. So you could argue there's not a lot of benefit for us to reduce our pricing because we're kind of the only player in town at this volume, it seems like, from what I can gather at least. So maybe not now, but maybe in the future we can actually, reduce our fees to incentivize more trades of larger sizes, especially if we want to be competitive against Krakens, or whatever, or such exchanges. I would suspect that the majority of their volume comes through OTC. I don't know that for sure. Maybe Kenton knows better than I. But I would suspect that a large percentage, vast majority even, probably comes through OTC trades. So there's good reason to try to shoot for those people, who are doing those large volumes. But I don't know how we can compete with the white glove service of the experience of an OTC, like having, a friend that you can text through Signal or whatever to do a Kraken trade for, real cheap. I don't know how we can be competitive in that way. Maybe it's a wrapping service of some kind. I'm not really sure. But
I think that's a really cool question for Kenton. But just, hey guys, if I could just wrap it up there from my side. Chad, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Denny, Kenton, love speaking with you guys. So happy to see you guys doing video finally. This is super cool. Everybody, have an awesome day. Really enjoy the space. I'm going to hop off.
Thanks for checking
the conversation.
Thanks, brother.
See ya.
Yeah, in my opinion, I don't think we need like an actual person to hold a whale's hand. We just give them a good price. And the whale can do it themselves. I mean, if you got millions of dollars worth of crypto, you know how to place a swap. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't
Mhm.
think you need help with it. They just want cheap execution that they and they know it'll work. Um, so like I am of the opinion we're gonna have to reduce our fees to compete with the sexes because they have like 1,000 times more volume than we do, and I don't know how we're gonna get those people off. I mean, I do believe some people will pay a premium for self custody, right? They will like that, but not a 10x premium.
Mhm.
And so maybe a 10% premium or 25% premium, sure. But like right now at 20 basis points, we're basically 100% premium on Binance, right? Binance's highest fee is 10 basis points. And then, as you start getting larger trades, it's cheaper. So, in my mind, I keep thinking that might be what we have to do to really compete with the sexes to go after that huge volume is we just got to simply be cheaper than them. And once the market figures that out, they're like, wait a second, cheaper and self custody, and we just get this snowball effect, this avalanche of volume. Um, for example, Binance, like they became the biggest exchange in the world because they were light on KYC and they were willing to kind of take anybody, right? And then
Yep.
it just grew and became huge. It's like just snowballed on them, and because it had way less barriers to entry, way less friction to trade there, right? THORChain has even less friction than that, and so, and if we're the same price at least in theory, people should be willing to move over. Um, so I'm just thinking from like a marketing point of view, right? Like we can, you know, it does suck to be, try to compete on price. But I'm wondering for those big trades at big volume, if it is just a function of price, that's just all they're looking for. Um, but like, does it mean lowering it today? We're all of a sudden going to get it, right? Like it takes time for people to find out and learn and do it. So like I agree, just changing it now isn't necessarily gonna attract all that volume. That's what we were trying last year. And it didn't
Yep.
nothing happened, right? So
Yeah, I think if we want to go after OTC, one of the things I think we would need to figure out is quoting, because I think that's the big difference. Because when we quote, we give you an estimate of what we believe the execution will be based upon the market conditions of the moment, and we're doing every best effort to give you the most accurate quote we can give you. But we don't know what's going to happen to the future, and we don't know if we could actually execute at that price or whatever. And I think when you do an OTC, you get a kind of a guaranteed execution at some ratio or some amount, you know? And I don't know how we can do that off the top of my head, but it is something that I wouldn't mind kind of like thinking about or brainstorming over the coming months and thinking about how we can guarantee execution at a certain price. I think if we can do that, I think that would be much more appealing from the OTC perspective to give them much more like parity experience to what they experience with Binance or Coinbase.
and then this uh, sorry, Bridget. Like so this is like a medium term goal for me with the marketing team is that eventually we start reaching out to like OTC desks, and other large traders and just hey, why aren't you trading on THORChain? Have you heard of us? Will you trade? And just hear the feedback, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
right, if we start getting some consistent feedback, like, yeah, we have heard of you, but X, Y, and Z, and that
Yeah.
becomes a consistent narrative. Okay, now we know what to fix and know what to do
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
attracted to them.
I wish we had, better fingers in different places to be able to like to have a more good, dialogue like that to talk to, sexes and other things to let us know like what is stopping you from using us. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Is it D? And then it helps us to prioritize what we should fix or improve upon.
Because like instead of us creating our own OTC desk, it's like kind of the original business model of THORChain. Let's just get integrated into all the other OTC desks, right?
Yeah.
and they can still upcharge and charge their fee for the white glove and talk the personal relationship. But we say, listen, you guys, you can fill your orders way cheaper, way quicker with us as opposed to the rest of your network, and or at minimum, we just become another source of liquidity for these guys. That they go reach out to other traders, they can get a quote off THORChain. So, all right, cool.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to get into because I don't know if you saw Chad, Pragmatic Monkey on the app layer side. He kind of he dropped kind of like a bomb that everyone really. So I'm gonna share my screen here. So this is the let me know if you guys can see this. This is the post he made. It says we are now testing custom concentrated liquidity on bRUNE BTC. Blah 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 blah. And the spread went from 64 basis points to 0.02 basis points, 3,000x improvement. So essentially, the app layer itself becomes a form of that can be used for arbitraging the depth of the pools in an extremely efficient manner. So I'm wondering if this is one of the ways that THORChain becomes. I mean, it's hard to guarantee. To your point, how do you guarantee what's going to happen in the future? That THORChain actually has a pretty reliable I don't know if you would call it a liquidity depth from the app layer, but we like our execution is so good that the reputation of itself is so reliable that people will come to us because we can do that. So I don't know, and this is to do with limit order design that you have, rapid swaps, and the app layer. Like it all homogenizes into this really awesome primitive where our arbs can just really kick butt when it comes to price execution. Did you see this by chance, Chad? This was like
I just saw it. Somebody sent to me actually. Pragmatic Money sent to me like a little bit before I jumped onto this call. So I started to read it. I haven't gotten through the whole thing quite yet. So I probably shouldn't comment too much on it because I'm still wrapping my head around it myself. But I mean, I'm definitely open to this, like, and if it gives us better price execution, if it gives us more revenue into the protocol, obviously those are positive things, and I'm open to exploring that and see if it can work for what we want. But I haven't done my due diligence on this yet, so I can't really quite comment on it myself.
I kind of want reach out to Pragmatic Monk, say, dude, hop on the space right now. Get get in front of a camera. Like, I'm chat about this right now. You know what I mean? Because he broke it all down in the last space, but I just, it's I would not be up to his understanding's far more involved than mine. But man, it sounds very, very promising. This actually makes me so excited. This is one of those things where like you have THORChain, you have cross-chain swaps, real layer one, you have these pools, decentralized churns, blah, 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 decentralized system. And then this app layer we build on top of it just adds this whole other form of possibility that just puts us way and above the competition because we made the hard decision first of doing the real layer one, like real DeFi, real permissions. Like we did the hard work, like real layer one swaps. We're not just some market maker, right? We have pools of which we can draw capability from. Like this really gets me super excited.
Yep.
We have a let's see here blah, 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 blah. We have a question here, Chad. I'll kick to you in regards to competition. These improvements make THORChain a better price. What are you talking about, Andre? Are you talking about the app layer thing we're talking about, or can you maybe specify your question a little bit? Because Chad said he doesn't know, but it's basically what Pragmatic Monkey said. It's you have tightness on the spread. Like you have really tight spreads. We can execute swaps really efficiently and very quickly based on like where the what do you say, the order of the block, like where it happens internally, right? Like you have Chad's rapid swaps, or you can have opposing swaps execute against each other, which just means you can have huge, like if you had multi-million-dollar swap, multi-million-dollar at the same value, they could swap in one block. So lots of cool things are happening. Guys, if you have any questions, please submit them in the public chat. And then honestly, just make comments in the public chat so we know it's working. Where are you watching us from? Like, can you give us some feedback? This is our first space, that's our first live stream, I should say. Please let us know, like, what are your experiences? Give us some feedback. What can we do better? Because we're just giving it a shot. You know what I mean? It took a long time to get this to all work. Shout out to Kenton, by the way. I know you've been really struggling with this, but yeah.
Danny Patriot, can you see the chat, the public chat on
Yeah.
the right-hand side?
I
Okay.
can.
Okay, cool. I'm not sure what you as guests see versus me, the moderator. Um, Chad, I got a few questions for you. So, is it possible the protocol own liquidity right now? The protocol owns like what 90% of the
Oh, I
PVL
I
of the
don't even
pool,
know. Yeah.
but it's something like that, right? Some large dollar amount, right?
Mhm.
Is it possible to basically like withdraw from one pool and allocate to another pool? Like, could we set it up like that? Or
Uh,
does
in the current moment, it's set up it's everything's just locked and there's no way to remove anything. But that doesn't mean it has to stay that way. We could make some changes and do something like that where we can reallocate, you know, withdraw to Rune and then deposit the Rune into another pool or something like this. Like that's totally possible. Um, I'm open to something like that.
good? That's the answer I wanted to hear. Because where I'm going with this is a couple fold. So, like there's some pools that are way more capital efficient than other ones. Like there's some pools like per unit of liquidity make like 2, 3, 4 times more fees than other pools. And so like, in theory, we should be like, why are we just have this fixed liquidity in these pools? Why don't we shuffle some of this liquidity into the pools that are really active and making a lot of money for the protocol? And in essence, kind of have like a liquidity pendulum where the liquidity of the protocol and liquidity is moving to where the market wants it, where it's needed, where it's generating the most fees for us.
Uh, so that's a bit more complicated than it sounds like. So if you have, let's say the Bitcoin pool is at a 5% APY and the XRP is at 10%. But the Bitcoin pool has, 10 times the amount of liquidity in it. If you move funds from the Bitcoin pool to the XRP pool, like you're not going to maintain that 10% APY. You're probably going to naturally see it like go down. I would presume at least because you putting more swaps, like more sorry, not swaps. You putting more liquidity into the pool is going to increase the volume of the pool just by nature of the arbitrage, like because it requires more capital to arb the price than it did before. But the question is it going to maintain the same amount? Is the organic volume going to change with that? And that's debatable for one reason or another. So reallocating doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get more money that way. In my view, um, it might and it might not, and it's complicated. And then what are we doing to the Bitcoin pool that we're withdrawing liquidity from there and making trades be, maybe slightly less on that side. So it's hard to kind of just like to know where to move the capital. And I don't know. I guess like for me, it would be less about APYs and it would be more about supporting where the volume is. And so as we have more volume in pool A and less volume in pool B, we will just move more capital away from B towards A, just to support whatever the market of organic trades is coming from.
But even like if the ARB volume is 60% of the pool, even that alone, that's still trading volume, that's still fees, right? So like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, there's some pools that are like total zombies, and we could just reallocate, reduce the size of those pools, and go to the other one.
right.
And I
But
get it.
but you're also reducing the ARB that you would have from the pool you're moving from. Like
Um,
if you're gaining going to pool B, then you're probably losing in pool A, right?
uh,
Because because like if you're moving to pool B, which is now deeper, which means there's more ARB can only happen in that pool, which means more fees are going to be collected. Then pool A is going to be less,
yeah.
right? So then the question becomes like, well, what is it a net benefit in one direction? Is it net positive? Is it net negative? And that's to me, it's a little bit hard to necessarily predict. Not that this is my area of expertise or knowledge, but I'm open to to exploring the idea though, and you know, and thinking more about the capital. Like I've been thinking about the POLs and how we have all this money coming in that the protocol is basically making, or the treasury more accurately. But the treasury's not like actually like keeping any of that income, right? It's making X dollars per month or whatever, X coins per month or whatever the number is, and it's just kind of like staying there, and it's basically like just burned liquidity that the treasury is like more or less donated to the community one form or another. Meanwhile, the treasury does have like a high cost of operation. I don't know if it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars per month that we probably spend to pay for like my salary and Discord people who moderate and rune scan and various community projects and stuff. And part of me thinks that that we should think about that capital as a way of generating revenue for the treasury to maintain the cost of long-term costs of running this community and funding this community.
Well, that's are you talking about the pooled, what the treasury owns that it has in the pools? That's
Yeah.
different, separate from the protocol and liquidity.
Yeah, I thought. Well, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought maybe it's a little bit of protocol, not the treasury. I can't remember actually. Come to think of it, it's been a while.
Right? I thought they're
Treasury
separate and
owned-
distinct.
I thought it was the treasury that owned all that, but maybe not. Maybe it's protocol.
I thought
I think it's
I-
locked in the protocol.
it's locked in the protocol, but the initial keys came from the treasury, I thought, right? But you can't withdraw it because on THORChain there is no there's no what do you call it? Liquidity value. So from THORChain's perspective, there's nothing you can withdraw. So starts at the treasury, but when it enters the pool, you cannot withdraw it. So it is just POL at that point.
Yeah. I think we actually burned it, so that the treasury's keys cannot be used to withdraw.
Right.
So I don't know. I'll have to look into it, but that's
I did some digging. Like, there's pools that make like no money. Like, there's nil, and there's they're hundreds of thousands of dollars deep. And I'm like, well, why don't we just shuffle some of that into like the stablecoin pools? They just print, and they're like they make 4 times more money than the Bitcoin pool. Like,
yes.
why not throw a few $100,000 in it and just see how it goes? Like, I totally get what you're saying. Like, you take from one and give to another. Like, it's not a linear. It's a give and a take. But I mean, let's just pretend if we double the stablecoin pool, but the fees per unit of volume stays the same. Well, heck, that was a good choice. It was a linear. It was a totally additive deposit. And then I'm just thinking too, from like, if those are the pools that are more actively traded, we do want to get them bigger. Like, we do want to bring them down in a sense, because how do I say this? Like, in my mind, if every pool had the same liquidity per unit volume efficiency, then every pool is at its optimum size based on the current trading demand. And which in theory is where we should be at. Every pool should be maximized for how many fees it's generating for us. And if there's pools that aren't generating any fees, we should reduce how big they are and allocate that capital to pools that do generate a lot of fees for us.
Sure.
Um,
We'd have to generate some sort of like algorithmic way of determining, what we're moving from what to where at what size and how frequently. And because I don't want. I mean, if we have it so that like we decide as a community, like, oh, let's move $200,000 from the Doge pool and put it into the USDC or whatever. Like, there's just too much governance in that. It's too micromanaged. It's just like, it would be too exhausting. And it would just be too many opinions, and I think it would be just problematic, especially in the long term. So I think if we were to do something like that, like maybe the way to do that is looking at the depth of the pool versus the volume of the pool, right? And like the ratio between those 2 points.
Yeah.
And then, saying, okay, well, we're not going to withdraw anything less than like $100,000, right? So like, even if the thing is not so great, we're still going to at minimum leave $100,000 And if it's more than that, and the volume versus the depth, blah blah blah, like those ratios are just kind of off. We'll move capital. We'll kind of bleed RUNE from one pool to the next to another pool, like a slowly each block, so we don't get too much in fees. Because every time you do that, every time you move from pool A to pool B, you're going to pay in fees. You're going to have some loss in just the act of moving from one place to the other. So you want to do that a very small amount over a long period of time, like a streaming swap, so to speak, right? Very similar to a streaming swap. So you do a small little bleed over time, every block, a little tiny bit of it. You just remove a little bit of RUNE and then put it into another pool just to create that little kind of motion from one side to the other. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to something like that. I mean, it makes some sense.
Because I'm wondering if, like, we see a lot of Bitcoin to ETH trades, like that's our biggest pair. I wonder if it's just because those are our biggest pools. Like, I wonder if we had the stablecoin pools were bigger, if we'd see more bigger trades
Yep.
going that way. Because like the stablecoin pools are only like 200-300 grand deep compared to the Bitcoin pool, which is like 20 million.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's a huge disconnect there, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you look at like half of their volume is stablecoins.
Yeah, same as the Uniswap. Like
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah, and it's also probably the same for Chainflip, but that's not the same because they like USDC is their base asset for all the pools. So it's kind of like not quite the same comparison, but nonetheless, like, yeah, there's like good reason to argue what you're saying,
Okay, so then I've got another idea. Going back to your, adding liquidity to the Doge pool, the governance, the voting to do it. I agree. That'd be a headache, pain in the ass. But I have an idea for us to add 50 new pools without costing anyone anything. Is if you look at the top 100 market cap and the top 100 by volume, there's 28 tokens that exist on Ethereum, Solana, Cosmos, whatever, AVAX, right? We already have the base chain. We could add these other tokens, and if you look at like the existing pools on THORChain, the pools that print the most money are the ones that are in the top 100 trading volume. The pools that don't print any money are in like the lower. They're like below 200. They're like way lower in the list. So what I was thinking is, like, what if we take, say, 50 grand, 28 pools times 50 grand each. That's $1.4 million of the POL, and we seed, 28 new pools, and just see how it goes. Because like the Link and the Trust Wallet pool, those are more efficient on a fee per liquidity unit basis than the Bitcoin pool, and they're only like 50, 60, 80 grand deep. And so we could, unlock a bunch of new pool, like open a bunch of new pools. And then we can also go to those communities and say, hey, look, we just added your pool to THORChain. Come check it out. Let's do a space. Let's talk, blah, blah, blah. 'Cause now that I'm more involved with, THORChain marketing and stuff, and I'm changing all the token info on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, I'm getting exchanges reach out to me. And, they're all coy and everything, but they want us to pay. And I'm like, no, we're not paying. We don't need to. We don't want to. And I'm sure all these other projects are getting the same, all these exchanges. Hey, we want to list you. You got to pay us 30 grand. You got to pay us 100 grand refundable deposit. Give us 1% of your supply, whatever the gimmick, right?
Yep.
How refreshing would that be to have an exchange reach out to you and say, hey, we just listed your token. We would like to show it to you. And, we did it for free. We did it on our own. And now you have access to Bitcoin liquidity. You don't have to use these other exchanges that everyone hates. And come check it out. And, maybe, it's a much more welcoming sell. And maybe it's a way for us to tap into other communities. And, we start increasing our product offering, right? We're offering more assets for our users to trade. And it doesn't cost us anything. It's just your time, Chad, for writing the code. But,
Which that's infinite, right?
so I know. But anyway, and then we can add another 25 tokens. So we can basically just go down the list of the top 100 and just start adding stuff, and just go until it stops working. And yeah.
Well, I mean, another way to think about doing the same thing is that, like, I have the intense feature coded up. It's open for review for the other devs right now, and that would, in effect, it would satisfy your request in some ways. Meaning that you can trade for chains that already support, like Solana, Ethereum, blah blah blah. Like, we could trade any arbitrary token on those chains through the intense feature without having a pool and putting together $100,000 in liquidity and all those things. And then at least we can support those assets to some degree, at least. And then maybe if we get enough volume, Intense is getting a lot of volume for some, ERC20 or some Solana meme token or whatever it might be, then the treasury or the PO or whatever can kind of like strategize and say, okay, well, maybe it makes sense to create an actual, ANN for this particular asset. Does that make sense?
I give you honestly, Chad, I don't think anyone's going to use the Intense to that scale. I think it's fine for long tail assets, like the really obscure ones, but for the top 100, like for example, like half there's no in the Intense, there's no like ARB trading volume for ARBs to balance the pools, which is like over half our volume. So if the pool doesn't exist on THORChain, we miss out on that ARB volume.
Yep.
So like that's what I'm thinking. We just have the pool live. The ARB volume alone is going to kickstart it and get it going. And I think if people have the choice, they'd rather swap directly with a pool versus doing the intent. And this was always the promise of THORChain to have the top 100 tokens anyway. So why not have them? And then we collect the ARB volume. Like there's pools that are collecting no volume, right? There's no ARB, like there's very little fees we're getting out of it. So why not try it in another pool and see if we get some ARB volume there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think Coke raised his hand here.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to exploring it. And like, as long as what we're doing is like evidence based, right? Or as best as we can, evidence based, and data driven, then I'm open to exploring these ideas.
Yeah, Coke, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I kind of had like a follow-up question from last week, THORSday. I know Chad was not there, but since it's related to pools and ARBs, like last week we spoke about with Pragmatic Monkey when we raised the TVL. We basically raised the income because we have to move the pools like up or down, right? And always have them priced correctly. But adding all those new features like limit orders, custom liquidity on app layer, and rapid swaps, wouldn't it take away a lot of? It makes THORChain a lot efficient, but it takes a lot of this movements of the pools away, and through that we lose revenue. But obviously we should get it back from better quotes, right? Or what's the dynamic behind there, Chad? What's your thoughts on that?
Sorry, can you say that again? I think I missed that.
So at the moment, he make most of the money, at least like Familiar Guy and other people are saying, through RPods, right? So basically arbing between pools. But if we introduce custom concentrated liquidity, rapid swaps, and limit orders, we kind of bypass that, and then don't we lose out a lot of this arbitrage action and revenue?
The revenue from the ARBs, you mean?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, no, because things like limit swaps, for example, like underneath it all, you still need to arb the pool. Like limit swap is not actually a limit order in the traditional sense. It's just it's a you're trading with a certain amount of like, outcome that you're looking for, but you're still trading through the pool. You're not going through like, you're not skipping the pool and going like peer to peer. You're going peer to pool. So the amount of like ARB you collect, or I'm not even sure if I would even say like collect in some sense, but like because I'm not even sure if I would even argue that we're even making money from ARBs, right? Because we make money from the trade, from the organic trade, and then somebody needs to push back to the other side, and technically I think is actually withdrawn value rather than contributing it, and that's in that sense. When it's different and it's not done by organic trade, it's just done by just market conditions. That might be a little bit different. But even then, you could argue that it's extracting value. I'm not really sure. I had to think more deeply about it. But I don't think it would affect arbors that much at all, if you ask me.
Oh, I mean, what I mean by effect is like they have less work to do. Can you maybe explain me better? How does the limit order work? So it doesn't. It still goes through the arb. I mean, it still goes through the pool.
Yeah, it waits till the pool is at a certain thing where, like, when I execute some trade through the pool, it upholds the ratio that you requested on your limit orders. Like, you're putting in X Bitcoin, you want Y USDC, some ratio between these 2 points, right? Like, let's call it a 3-to-1 ratio, just for easy math. And then it will wait until the pool can execute at that ratio, and then it will execute at that ratio. But it's not doing what a traditional order book, where you have, a person trying to buy, a person trying to sell, and it looks for those people to like kind of pair up, and they pair them up and then like, execute between those two individuals or a series of individuals. It's different in that sense. It's like our limit orders are really more like, that's why I call them limit swaps instead of limit orders. It's really just like, it's a limit order, but through an AMM. It's like it's kind of this like weird hybrid model, to give you a order book experience, but still using an AMM underneath it all. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Now I see. I see. So it's trying to achieve the same purpose or the same outcome, but the way it does it is just a little bit different.
Right. Just a little bit different. And that it has nothing to do with arbitrage in that particular instance. Like the pool will move because of market conditions, and arbs will more or less always arb the pool for financial gain in one form or another.
So in your sense, or what you want to say is that even though we have all those efficiency gains when it comes to pricing or like having tight liquidity at the price points, this will not impact severely the income from ARBs.
I mean, it depends. So like if the pools like, so if let's just hypothetically say that the room price just like 2x from where it is now, right? Let's just call it $1, right? If that were to happen hypothetically just now, then the depth of pools would increase, by approximately, 50% or so, right? Or whatever the number would be. So like if you went from where we are now, the pools are more or less double, let's call it that. And that means that like when the pool is double its depth, when the Bitcoin price moves up 2%, the amount of capital required to correct the ratio between Bitcoin and Rune in that pool is doubled, right? So an ARB, when the market conditions just move and Bitcoin's price goes up 2%, the amount of capital ARBs need in order to correct the pool price is also doubled. So the ARB volume will naturally always be 60%, approximately 60% of the pool depth or the volume in general, because of that's just how it works, and on how like you need more volume when you want to arbitrage a pool that's deeper. So you have that sense, right? But like what I don't fully understand, because this is not my knowledge, my area of expertise necessarily, is that like the ARB is arbing because there's money to be made. And the question is like, where does it make the money? Right? Is it making it by trading through THORChain and then settling on Binance? Or is it making on the Binance side and not the THORChain side, or both, or whatever, right? Like I'm not entirely sure where the money, the capital comes from, who's actually paying the ARB, because the ARB's making money, right? The ARB's not losing money, right? So where's they gaining that money? Is it from the protocol? If they're gaining money from the protocol, then they're not really contributing, right? In that sense, they're contributing in the sense of like keeping the pool price correct, but are they extracting value or are they adding value? And that's like a kind of an interesting question. I don't even know the answer, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. We don't know that. Is it? Yeah. Or it's equilibrium 50-50 in the long run. We don't know that. But in that sense, I mean, I guess you don't know the answer for that as well. Like when we have the in-house ARB through the app layer, do we keep all the money or how it's that way it's gonna end up?
Yeah, that's I think like I haven't read through the whole app layer proposal like I mentioned before, but like I think they're kind of suggesting, and please, I apologize if I get this wrong. 1 second.
A man's got to eat, everybody.
That's how I guess I get my laundry.
I think the thesis behind is that there's going to be introduced new liquidity on through the custom liquidity, right? The new liquidity will enter the app layer, and then we are gonna ARB against that. So,
right, I think that's I haven't fully wrapped my head around it yet, but like they want to add something conceptually similar to concentrated liquidity as a secondary LP that's not on the base layer, it's on the app layer, and it's using the oracle, right? Because you can't do a concentrated liquidity in a passive way. You need to constantly update what your kind of ranges are, which is why I've always been against it a little bit personally, because like I don't want to push out all LPs in that sense, and like I want LPs to be able to be passive and make money without needing to have like a computer science engineering degree or something like this. But I think what they're going to be planning on doing, if I understand correctly, and I apologize if I get it wrong, is that they're going to be using the ARB, the enshrined oracle. So the nodes right now are pulling the Bitcoin price and other prices of all the various other assets, and they're pushing on chain what the market price of Bitcoin or the market price of Ethereum is, and then they're going to use that information to constantly change its concentrated liquidity position to give hopefully better execution. That's the intent of it. And I think there's talk about the fees that it generates. Some percentage of those fees would go back to the protocol, to the base layer, to the LPs and nodes and whatnot. So that could be good. I don't know. Like I said, I have to do a deeper dive into it, but it could be good.
I mean, at the moment, it's gonna be 50-50.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I'd love to get everyone on a live stream together. I mean, we do a live stream. Maybe we can make it a goal, because there's always like this little bit of friction between the base layer and the app layer, because it's really complicated. Like I'm learning myself, right? And then, I listen to Pragmatic Monkey. I even listen to the recording a little bit too, to try and get it in. But then I rethink about Mike, and then so yeah, I think that's something we can do, because it sounds really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. Oh my God.
Here's Monkey.
Yes.
Oh, here you go. There he
Mamma
is.
mia.
Oh my God.
I was listening, Mamma mia. I thought I would jump in because it's an important discussion, and I just wanted to add a bit of perspective. So Chad, on the point on arbitrage and who gets the money, I think that conceptually there is an important thing to understand. Is arbitrageurs, they make money by price deviation. So sometimes it would be price would be cheaper on Binance and more expensive on THORChain. They would sell on one side, buy on the other, manage the fee on both sides. If there is still a profit left, they take it, and that's their profits. The value would lose or win. It doesn't really matter. It may be one side, it may be a Binance, on the other side, it may be a THORChain. What matters is really long-term movements. If we are trading assets that go only in one direction, and especially if they are going only down, then the arbitrageurs are effectively taking the value little by little, and everybody loses. But as long as there is volatility from the moment your price goes up and come back to where it was a few days or hours later, then everybody's eating. I mean, somebody is losing somewhere in the markets, but in terms of as market maker, a decentralized market maker on the DEX, you would be making money because you would be collecting the fees and the state of your pool, the quantity of assets. Let's say Bitcoin is at $100, $100,000. It goes to 120 and then back to 100. The quantity of assets, RUNE and BTC in that case, would be exactly the same after this up and downs, and you would be net with more fees. The fees you collected along the way and the volatility. So I think for me, like when I think about Rujira and what we are trying to build, at the end, what I want to maximize is a system that make money on volatility. That's the only thing we know for sure with crypto is there is ton of volatility. And so that's I think what we want to maximize. And that's why like being a DEX is great because a lot of volatility, a lot of unchurned this volatility, and you make money. And then from this point onward, doesn't matter if like you have two possible way of triggering an arbitrage. Either it's organic usage, somebody come use THORChain, make a big swap, it moves the price of the pool, now it triggers an arbitrage versus other venue, and somebody are back. But when this person does this arbitrage, the protocol still collects the fees, the swap fees, the liquidity fee in the pool. And it can be that, or it can be nothing happen at all, but just because somebody somewhere bought a lot of Bitcoin and now Bitcoin price is up, there is an arbitrage opportunity because nothing happened on THORChain, and you can buy cheap Bitcoin on THORChain and sell it at your price on the authorized exchange. As long and you still collect your fee. So as long as price fluctuates inside the range or go up, it's fine. Where it becomes very problematic is if you are trading like offering liquidity for assets that only goes down. Like it's likewise. You have to be very careful, especially in the case of THORChain, given everything is paired with RUNE, you have to be very careful with state assets, because if you pair RUNE with a lot of crap tokens that have a huge supply controlled by a few entities that are going to just dump on you, like it's the case for 99% of the tokens that launch are out there, what you end up doing is just giving up all the good liquidity. What will happen is you will have a pool with RUNE, and people will come and dump their token on THORChain, take the good token from your pools, the BTC, the ETH, the stable coins, and you will end up with less of the good token and more of the bad tokens that over time goes down in value. But as long as you stick to blue chip asset with high volume, where you have a good certainty that price is not going to go to zero and there will be a lot of external volume or some other value and volatility, that's the sweet spot where you can make money on volatility. And
Okay, so I have a couple questions for you, right? And again, like, please correct me if I'm just asking so I can more deeply understand what you're proposing in some sense. It's like what I hear, what you're describing as arbitrage, to me is not arbitrage. I don't think the app layer is capable of actually arbitraging, because you need some other market outside of a THORChain's market in order to arbitrage, like a Binance, to actually like close the end of the deal, right? Like you can't just like send some Bitcoin to Ethereum. That's your arbitrage. You have to go back to your original spot of Bitcoin so that you can actually have more coins than you had before, or at least more value than you had before. So I'm like, what you're describing was more of just like providing liquidity at certain bands, which to me is not really arbitrage, right? Because if it was arbitrage, you wouldn't be making any money at all, because who would you be making money from? If you're just providing liquidity in the pool, on the Bitcoin pool, for example, and you're quote unquote arbitraging, okay, you're making money from what? From the LPs, right? Like you're basically extracting money from LPs and then you're giving it half back to the LPs through fees or whatever, right?
yes, like so that I think that's exactly where it becomes interesting. So you were talking about which market making strategy we have, and you mentioned the Oracle one. This will come later. Very keen on that one. But for now, the one we just launched, we are live testing, is called CCL, Custom Concentrated Liquidity, and it's very like a Uniswap V3 where you can define a range. top and the bottom of the range. So then you, when you do that, as an LP, you have to be happy with the range you provide liquidity. You do that because you have a view. I'm happy to, I'm going to provide liquidity for BTC with USDC. I'm happy to be 100% in BTC below $70,000 and 100% in USDC above 150. And if you are happy with this range, then as long as there is volatility inside this range, you make money. And you are willing to take any position in this one, any price that is inside this range, you will be happy with the outcome. From the moment you do that, you are offering the second source of liquidity that's which has a price that is deterministic based on the quantity of BTC and USDC in your position on the app layer side. And then that gives you an alternative venue to ARB against the base layer pool. So the same way you could use before Binance to ARB, now you can use the app layer pool, app layer to ARB against the base layer. And that's what's happening here. And who is losing? Well, at some point in time, if you are an LP and Bitcoin price is going down, you are losing in dollar value. And sorry?
Who was you in this case? You say you are
you as a LP, as a liquidity provider that provided liquidity in this $70 to $120 range. If Bitcoin price goes down, you are buying the asset that is going down. You are selling the asset that is going up, which in this case would be USDC.
You're talking about impermanent loss in this case.
Yeah, so impermanent loss, exactly. So, but that's exactly the thing. It's impermanent because as long as price come back to where you started your range, you will be making your money back. And you collect a spread on every time you sell at a little quantity. And when you buy it back the same quantity at a slightly lower price. And you collect these spreads. That's how a market maker also on strategy works.
It's not about the price. It's about the ratio between the two assets in the pool. So like you mentioned this, the Bitcoin price going down means you lose money in that scenario. And that's not necessarily true. It's like a 50% chance of being true because it depends upon what was the ratio between Bitcoin and USDC when you entered the pool and what is the ratio now? And if the ratio is...
So I'm talking on the app layer side. So on the app layer side, think about it as a real order book, like something exactly, it works the exact same way as an order book on Binance or on the New York Stock Exchange, whatever. It's like people can put bid and quotes in order to buy and sell at different price level. And then the price of the asset will define if your order gets filled or not. And when they get filled, where it goes down, if you are providing liquidity in a range with one of those LPs, you have actually like a multitude of small orders separated by percentage spreads, and you are selling when price goes down, and you are buying back when price goes up. Sorry, it's the other way around. You are buying the base when price goes down and selling the base when price goes up.
And so you want to set up like a secondary market in the app layer that has a different pool that is, or maybe not even necessarily a pool, it could be an order book, that has a different, necessarily value from the base layer. And when the base layer's price deviates from the enshrined oracle's price, which helps kind of inform, you want to use the liquidity in the secondary market.
For now, you don't even, the enshrined oracle price will come with a second concentrated liquidity strategy. For now, it's not there yet, but the CCL is already there. And even if having the strategy with the enshrined oracle will be super interesting, because then we can have like a really market-informed pricing. But even without that, just because from the moment you provide liquidity in your range, you have all those order sets from the bottom of your range to the top of your range, there is a source of liquidity that is available to arbitrage whenever the price deviation between your order price, your closest, your bid and your ask, the current closest price at which you would be willing to buy or willing to sell. This liquidity is available on the app layer. And if there is a sufficient deviation with the price of the base layer, you have an arbitrage opportunity, and you can use this liquidity to ARB modulo the size that is available on the app layer.
Yeah. Okay. And then how are you figuring that? Like you said, I think you mentioned earlier, if I understood you correctly, that some percentage, maybe 50% of the income that you're making from this arbitrage opportunities, you want to put back into the base layer, right? Into the reserve or something like this. I'm assuming.
So the way the arbitrage we internalized it, we use the virtualization strategy. Are you familiar with how it works? How we are able to offer to tap into the base layer pool liquidity in an atomic fashion on the app layer, the DRC virtualization strategy?
Yep.
Okay, so we use the virtualization strategy, which effectively borrow, like for just-in-time liquidity, borrows the funds. It's able to query what would be the output of a swap, estimate the output of swap equals to do the swap on the base layer, borrow whatever you expect to receive by doing this swap, use that to fill the order on the order book, end of the block, does the swap with whatever was bought on the order book, the IBER swap on the base layer pool, and next block, refund the loan. And with this virtualization strategy, so there is a few costs involved there, but the main one is on the base layer side. It's a secure asset mean slip fee, which is currently set at 10 bips per leg. So it typically is 20 bips. And so suddenly, if the arbitrage use the app layer liquidity to be executed instead of be happening on Binance, then you also get, as the base layer, you also get the fees from this arbitrage volume, the mean slip fee. That you will not happen if the buyer was buying on Binance and selling on THORChain.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I would like to spend more time with the article you wrote on X this week and kind of have a deeper think on it, But
I think it would be good to discuss that also, with Hans, of course, once you have time to digest this. But I think it's already live, like it's working. There is still like a lot of friction. I think so there is really like a sweet spot to find by lowering the values. I'm not sure the article, the values level, but there will be an optimize to find. And maybe one more very interesting stuff. Once we add the Oracle-based strategy, then from the moment you have people willing to take a view on the market, I'm willing to have a range to buy between for BTC USDC between 70,000 and 120 or whatever is your range, and make money on that volatility. And at the same time, somebody else I don't care about the range. I want to provide volatility in my order to adjust automatically based on the Oracle price. Then when we start to use the Enshrine oracles, it also means that even liquidity inside the base layer start to arbitrage against the other based on volatility. So it becomes really a machine that generates money based on volatility. And the strategies that we'll be using Oracle to price, the way I have designed it, it hasn't been implemented yet, but it will track the average entry price of the position of a large pool, and it will already provide liquidity always on one side. If you are above the average entry price, currently you would be only selling. If you are below, you will be buying to average down. But there will be always a lot of liquidity very close to the Oracle on one price, on one side. And then you can have like two different type of strategy on the app layers that trade one against another. And in that case, we don't even use the base layer pool liquidity. But when we have volumes that don't use the virtualization strategy, in that case, we share the revenue 50-50 with the base layer. So there is still like a big economic benefits if we can scale this TVL and those volumes for THORChain base layer. Cool. And sorry, and one last thing, where it becomes very cool is then because once we add that, you don't have 2 but 3 different source of price deviation that you can arbitrage once again another. So it will even more stimulate volumes. Because suddenly, if there is sufficient deviation between the base layer pool price represented in the book by the virtualization strategy versus the CLL strategy, which quote at a fixed price in the book, versus this Oracle strategy, which quotes at a different price based on the Enshrine Oracle, every block, effectively, there should be, assuming there is a bit of volatility, there should be some orders that match. And every time the order is matched, at the start, we are using now, so that in the new version of THORChain trade, we are launching for now just on one pool to test. we have added this the use of the on-chain scheduler, and at the start of every block, we arbitrage between those various sources of liquidity. So you have to think of Fuji Trade, the order book DEX. It's like a multi-source, an intent matching engine, if you wish, where you can plug multi-source of liquidity. And one of these sources are like regular users that put limit orders or tracking orders using the Oracle. Another source is a virtualization strategy, which tap into base layer pools. A third source now is those CCL strategies. A fourth source would be this new Oracle-based strategy. And at the start of each block, via the on-chain scheduler, we look at all the different price those different sources of liquidity are willing to pay to buy or sell an assets, and any arbitrage is also captured and register protocol revenue. And then it flows in the same machine of splitting with THORChain base layer and app layer.
By the way, I just opened a merge request right before I started this session. Live stream 4463. I think you'd be interested in, because it's I'm doing making the score on swap order based upon sub swap size rather than total swap size, which I think you were talking to me about in our meeting a couple hours ago. Which is what a few other people have been talking about, and there's been I think somebody wrote like an ADR, I think, about this.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm actually a little bit on fence about this personally, but it's definitely not a hill that I'm willing to die on. I think the downsides of this thing would not be hugely consequential, because I presume it won't be. But we'll see if it does mean we get more competition in the arbitrage, and which means that arbs will take less of a profit from their to correct the pool price. That would be the more effective way, in my opinion, to make as much money as we can for the arbs. Honestly, like, arbs should be making the least amount of money on this whole protocol. Between you have the LPs, the nodes, in arbs, all the three different entities that make money on this protocol. In my opinion, it's the arbs who should make the least amount of money out of all of them. And the reason why that is because they have the least amount of risk. They're not price exposed to any particular asset. They don't have to lock up their capital. And so they just have a lot less to worry, but they just have free money on a table that they just kind of more or less kind of grab and profit within seconds. And keep that profit within seconds. There's no, impermanent loss to worry about. There's no RUNE exposure necessarily in these things. So like it might be an arb should make the least amount of money. So anything we can do to make it more competitive so that arbs are kind of forced to take less of a profit and leave more money in the pools versus extracting money from the pools, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, fully agree. And by the way, I don't have like a strong view on that, but it was some other community member who point me to this discussion. And I agree. Like, they take the less risk of all. They should have the least return on capital, and that's why I'm happy to see that you went with the ADR they had, because that's remove friction. And my understanding was that actually it was possible for one big arbitrager, which has a lot of capital, to cheat the system by putting like very big streaming swap with the intent to just execute the first one and bypass everybody else in the queue. So this should change.
Right, but I'm not sure how that actually works in reality, because like if you're gonna make a $500,000 streaming swap just to get ahead of all the other arbs, the rest of the streaming swap has to execute, because you can't cancel a streaming swap. So either you're going to lock up capital for 30 minutes to make this kind of arbitrage opportunity, or you're going to spend more in fees than you would collect from the arb opportunity that you'd be collecting from to begin with. So I'm not really quite sure. I've heard this argument before, but it doesn't make sense to me personally, or maybe there's something I'm missing. But like,
so on that, I took at face value the arguments those guys were commenting. They show this address. Like, I don't know the in working of THORChain well enough to know if it's true or not, but it looks like it's one address that was doing that and capturing all those big arbs. So I assume there is I trust those community members that are trying to do their little arbitrage. Like, I don't see any reason why they would be lying about about someone
Well-
here to exploit that. But yeah, I did not verify.
I mean, if you're going to put a huge trade in, assuming the whole trade executes and you don't have a partial execution, which partial execution can happen, also not in a non-predictable way. You don't know if it's going to be partial execution or full execution of your streaming swap. You're going to pay, 20 bips in fees of your huge trade. Like you're making a huge trade for $500,000 or $1 million, whatever the hell the number is, and you can pay 20 bips on that $1 million. Like how much are
That would be insane. But what they were saying is actually they were able to trick the parameters so that just the first swap is executed and the rest does not.
But then you're then you're locking up that capital for like a half an hour, and you're losing out on other arbitrage opportunity over the next 30 minutes.
Yeah,
How many trades? How many $500,000 do you have sitting in a wall where you can just like do one arb every 30 minutes? Like that doesn't make any sense to me logically. But again, maybe I'm missing something. I'm not.
Yeah, me too. Like they really cannot comment on the specific of that. But yeah, it just looked like it was happening. So
Yeah.
And I don't see much downside in ranking by what is inside the block rather than
Well, the downside is that you're no longer. It's like so. When we first launched THORChain, we did it by how it is now by the full trade size, because back then there was no streaming swaps, right? And so you were just prioritizing of like what's going to give the protocol the most amount of money, or what's going to make the most profit for the THORChain protocol. And the answer to that question is like the larger the trade, the more money that you're going to give to the protocol, right? And that's how it worked originally. And then we did this streaming swap thing where we broke up into smaller trades. So how much money you make on a trade is now not so simple as it was before, because streaming swaps kind of changed that equation. But the problem with doing it like via whatever is the biggest sub swap trade is that, first of all, a lot of trades are, the size of the sub swap is depending upon the size of the pools you're trading through, right? So if you're going through doing a Bitcoin ETH pool, each sub trade will be, let's just call it $500, right? Because of the size of those pools dictate what each sub swap will be. But if you're doing Bitcoin to USDC, well, USDC is a lot shallower of a pool. So instead of being $500 per sub swap, it's now going to be $100 per sub swap. So that means that everybody who's trading Bitcoin to ETH is actually going to get better prices, better execution before everybody going from Bitcoin to USDC, because you've just changed the algo to look at that the metric of the sub swap size rather than the size of the trade itself. Furthermore, you want to execute the trades like if we have like a huge queue of like tons of streaming swaps happening, we want to execute the trade that's going to give us the most amount of value, which is going to be the largest trade for obvious reasons. So I think there's going to be some downside. I'm willing to take the risk of that downside for the interest of just like trying out this concept and seeing how it works, maybe reverting it later if it actually has a mental effect. But most trades are not actually dictating, like every sub swap for the most part, based upon the route or the path, like the pair that you're trading with. Well, the size of the trade will be the same amount for like every trade, more or less, depending upon like market conditions and other things. So it's just like, it's really not going to work out the way that people think this work out, unless you're an arbitrage bot who doesn't do streaming swaps, and you're not doing like sub swaps. You're executing a certain trade size. Then you can get priority over somebody else in that scenario. So we can try it and see how it works out. I don't think it's going to be like too bad if it doesn't work out so well, but I think there's going to be a downside to it, which I don't think the people that I was discussing with were having a hard time understanding that part of the argument, and they kept on arguing from their own perspective rather than understanding what I was trying to explain to them. But we could try it and see how it goes, and if it doesn't go so well, we can always just revert it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's was the shot, and yeah, it's all what you say make total sense. It's this logic only breaks if it's actually possible to game the arbitrage by being able to cancel a streaming swap after the first swap. If that's the case, if there is some way to do that, then what they argue makes sense. If actually that's not the case, and when you start a streaming swap, it's gonna be executed throughout, and you will get 100% of the revenue you expect, then the current design makes total sense.
Right. Well, like I say, like we can try it this way. We can see how it goes. And I know you want to try the thing you've been talking about this past week. and and I'll give you the space to try on the app layer, and we can see how it goes. I know you've reviewed like this new arbitrage framework that I've kind of proposed to myself. Really, I haven't really proposed to the community quite yet, but like, but I think that there's more merit there than what I think you're arguing from a place of what makes Ruji a lot of money, rather than what necessarily makes whatever was the correct design for the protocol.
I'm arguing from like I have a very long term view. I'm arguing from what's gonna reduce friction the most here, and I really see what makes Fuji the most money, what makes THORChain the most money eventually. Like the two are very linked. But on the other change you made, like I did not have a strong view. I just this was pointed out to me after I pushed this article. I went through the thread. I was like, oh, okay, this make more sense to me than one solution remove friction for small arbitrageurs. The other one adds on it. So this was an easy call.
Yep. One thing I'm kind of fascinated by with the design that I put forward. We're not going to go into the depths of it because it's probably too late for that. We can do it next Thursday, possibly, maybe. But like one interesting thing about it is that it actually just marks the accounts that are actually arbitrage. So like we actually know what is an arbitrage trade and what is an organic volume trade. And having that clear separation between those two things and being able to determine that, like, okay, 68.4% of the trade today was arbitrage and 30 blah 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 whatever percent is organic. I think that's in itself is kind of valuable. Of just real time data about our like how much volume we're getting that's organic versus arbitrage. But it's also like it just maximizes to ensure that like that we keep as much value as we can in the protocol rather than getting extracted through arbitrage. And so like by having these systems where people can pay to play to be an arbitrage bot, it ensures that we retain as much value and we increase the system income of the entire protocol. I mean, if your numbers are correct, like you said in your article that $3 million is made per month via arbitrage. If that's
what they made, by the way.
Yeah. It's like I don't know where that number comes from. To be honest, like I have no idea how much arbitrage actually makes. Like we can see what the volume is. That's not too terribly hard to figure out. But like what interest they're making, or what's their ROI is like nearly impossible to figure out because you don't know. If where their secondary market they're trading is, you don't know what the fees they're paying on that secondary market, whether it be Binance or whatever it is.
No,
It's like it's fucking impossible. But what I like about it, what I propose is that like we can deterministically know who's an arbitrage, who's not. We can deterministically know how much money we're making off of the arbitrage. Like, is they're giving us money? They're like paying to play. They're giving the RUNE into the system for system income. We definitively know how much money we're making from arbitrage rather than how much arbitrage is extracting from the protocol. And then from that, you can almost articulate or at least have a reasonable guess of how much money they're actually making, because they're not going to give up $200,000 in a month and make $100,000, because that makes no sense at all. And so that competition is going to ensure that we have as much, we retain as much value and we increase the amount of system income as possible from arbitrage. But let's start with the simplest and the simplest change, which is 4463, which we just mentioned before. We'll see how that affects the arbitrage. You guys can do on the Ruji side what you're thinking about doing. Let's see. Let's try it out. See what the results are. Look at the data.
And by the way, what like I did not have a strong choice because what we can do now, like we can do it both ways, like with the current setup or with the new setup. It was just the design you suggested that will add a lot of friction and
Yeah.
I mean we'll have to rethink a lot of things. But fully agree with you. I was laughing because when I read your proposal, the thing I liked a lot about it was like, oh, this is very cool. Then we can deterministically know which volumes are arbitrage volume, and that's I love analytics. So
yeah, that's neat. I hope we've never seen that. Like we've never seen AUM do arbitrage in the way that I've kind of theorized it in that write up. And like maybe my idea is like not a good idea and we shouldn't be doing. Like I had to convince myself fully that it actually is a good idea necessarily. I was just think it's arbitrage.
Wait a bit, like let us scale a bit the TVL and the market making strategies on the app layer, and let's see the impact this has on volumes.
Yeah.
And if add on price deviation versus Oracle price, which is how I estimated, by the way, the profits. I look at the untrained oracles, used 1 minute candles for the base layer pools, because that's the more granular level of data I could have, and look at the deviation, then factor in costs on THORChain side, because this we know deterministically for what the fees are. And I assume some costs on the other side, because here we don't know what arbitrage are doing. And that's how I came up with it.
Right. And by the way, like in your document that you wrote up, you refer to like arbitrage are currently suboptimal. It's one of your kind of categories you think, but you're kind of omitting the idea that like of the movement from a passive arbitrage, using swaps or whatever, to using limit orders to do arbitrage. That was one of the main goals of doing limit swaps, is to hopefully push arbitrage bots to use limit swaps to create a much tighter, pool price, rather than that one that gets pushed around by, I think you said 40 bips or something like this.
That's the average on
price degradation of it is like 40 bips. Yeah, like I think limit swaps by itself, once that gets fully ironed out, the kinks are ironed out, and the arbitrage bots are kind of like moving to that system, I think you're going to see 40 bips go down from 40 to something considerably smaller, but we'll see.
And that's, I'm like super happy about it, because this is also something we can upgrade the virtualization strategy to use a limit swap. That will be very, very powerful. And then we can also inject with rapid swap. I think it took some time for me to click it, but it actually works very nicely together, because then with rapid swap, we can also inject a big amount of liquidity into the app layer, and like materially increase the speed of settlement, assuming we have enough liquidity from LPs on the app layer side.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So very, very exciting stuff coming. I think this year is going to be a good one. And then for me, it's all about, at the end, scaling TDL, given we can't do that much. By the way, Kenton super supportive of increasing, adding small pools of assets in the top 20, which have a lot of volumes and are not like tail studs that will likely go to zero. I think that will help a lot. And then we can just scale TDL on the app layer, add more and more strategy, add more utility. So the very cool stuff is those tools, those are advanced market making strategy. They provide also a way for people to earn money on crypto, to make money on volatility. That's very big. That's the only thing that you are pretty sure about in crypto is the volatility. And if you are willing to hold Bitcoin or whatever, and you have a fairly wide view on the range, or just happy to, from this point onward, either average down or take profit ups, then we will have all sorts of tools to do that. And all this activity will also stimulate the arbitrage activity on the base layer, because create deviations at the app layer, or arbitrage back with the base layer, both direction. So yeah, very, very, very excited about all that. And yeah, I hope we can, the more we can scale the TVL on the app layer side, the more we can also get more revenue for THORChain base layer.
That was another thing I forgot to bring up. A reason to have the base layer pool instead of relying on intents is app layer needs the base layer pool in order to play with those secured assets, right?
For the virtualization strategy, we need the app layer pool to internalize us to access arbitrage between the two. But ideally, especially so we are talking about tail assets. I also don't think intents. I don't think people will use that much, especially for tail asset at the end. Even if it's used by some people, it would be, I think, very marginal in terms of volume contribution. Most of the volume on all SEX and DEXs come from the top assets and stable coins, as you were saying earlier. Yeah, so I think that's what we should try to increase the TVL for. But there is also a risk, no, sorry, I mean, I mentioned that already, to pair in bRUNE with smaller assets, you end up just by offering exit liquidity for the lower quality asset and depleting your quality pool. So for this type of assets, I think there is still a case where, especially rigid trade to replicate the Sanford exchange experience. You connect your wallet, it looks like a Binance type of things with another book or just fancy feature. we probably want to trade to offer some meme coin or whatever, but you don't want us to be paired with bRUNE in a base layer pool, because if you do that at scale, it's gonna wait on real price. And then for those one, having a way to just deposit them as secure assets using the enshrined record price as a source of price without having relying on a base layer pool to define the price of those assets. I think that would be very helpful. And that's something we should consider when the launch.
Sure.
I have a question for you guys. So, Chad, like what you said about ARBs and the protocol, the people taking the risk should make them more money. That totally makes sense. And PM, I really like what you said the other day, last week on the space, that the longer the block time, the bigger the price disallocation, which means the more money ARBs make. And if we lower the block times, there's a smaller price dislocation, and so less money the ARB makes. So I'm curious, Chad, if that would help influence you to support moving to 2-second block times to try and reduce, how much the ARBs make, improve the try and improve the base layer a bit.
So when it comes to organic volume, like arbing organic volume, I don't think block size matters that much.
Time, sorry, time.
Or block time even matters that much, to be honest with you. It might make sense because in a like a market movement, so if Bitcoin's price moves up 2%, if it moves 1% in 3 seconds and then another 1% in 3 seconds versus moving 2% in 6 seconds, you might get a little bit better because your ARB is going to ARB twice during that 2-second time frame versus ARBing once. So maybe that would be better. I'd have to think about it. I'm not exactly confident that actually a faster block time would mean that ARBs extract less value necessarily. I have to think about it.
So I think they extract more value when the block time is longer, just because you let price slip further away, and whatever you remember when we were discussing earlier, would make the money when an arbitrage happen. Well, if now the market price has moved to the real market, which we will assume is Binance, but it could be any place. Price on Binance of Bitcoin has moved 2% up in 2 seconds. Now you can ARB for 2%, or like take minus the cost on each side. The arbitrager can capture this 2% minus, let's say 10 bips on each side, 1.8% profits. If you refresh the state of the world every 2 seconds instead of the 2% move, your pool will be rebalanced after like a 0.5% or whatever, and the ARB profits is lower. But whenever there is and it will be, the ARB will happen in 2 times, because eventually the price is gonna move up to 2%, but you will have ARB twice or 3 times on the way. Actually 3 times if we go from 6 to 2, and then you get 3 times more the fee. So it may not be exactly 3 times more the fee, but because every time there is an ARB, the ARB still pays the liquidity fee on the base layer pool, and so it will pay the liquidity fee maybe 2 times more, not 3 times, because you need to have sufficient deviation to still have a profit left, but the profits overall will be lower, and it will happen more often, and the base layer pool will collect fee more frequently. So I think net, the lower your block time, the more you make volumes from this arbitrage, and the more you can collect your fee. And then you again add this elasticity. You can even try to further reduce your fee. And actually, that was Kenton talking earlier about reducing the fees now in a 6-second block time, because you have the time to let price deviate quite a lot. Actually, reducing the fee a lot doesn't necessarily make much sense. You just leave more money on the table for the arbitrager. But if your block time is shorter, then suddenly maybe at 10 bips P, you will not have an arbitrage in just 2-second time, but at 5 bips, there is maybe still an arbitrage to be made. And at this, and and suddenly you get more volumes, and that you can arbitrage 2 times in a 2 seconds and then another 2 second block, and get the same 10 bips that you will have as on a 6 seconds block time.
Right. Right.
That actually kind of fits with, because when Cal was doing their fee experiment last fall, he said that their numbers told him that we should actually increase the fees to like 50 basis points. And
Oh, really?
yeah, and basically it's like the higher the better, because it's just like, I always forget the term, it's inelastic demand. So and I'm wondering it's because of those block times that that there's such a big, the arb is making so much money in that block time, whether we charge 20 basis points or 50, it still makes sense to arb it, and they're still going to pay it. And so by having our fees low right now, that's just money we're giving arbs. Maybe our fee should be 75 bips. I'm making this up, right? But it's to your point, what you're explaining, PM, is that maybe that's how maybe that's our solution, is that how much money these guys making in that block, those 6 seconds, and we just got to keep increasing the fees until they stop placing a trade every block, and maybe they place a trade every 2 blocks. Then we know we've maxed out the fees per block that they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Am I talking on my ass?
No, I mean, there's go ahead, PM.
It's very hard. Like I think like if you increase to 50 bips, because there is also like suddenly you will also reduce a lot the arbitrage volumes, because you will need much bigger price deviation to make the arb still work. So yes, you will probably, you may end up making more money in absolute or similar amount of money, but you will have a lower and lower volume. So well, there is a sweet spot to find. And it also, like the experiment he was running were on fairly short period. I think it was 1 week or 2 weeks that change and the change. And you will have period in crypto where price don't move much. And in those periods, if you have like super high fee, you're not gonna make any volumes. But then you will have periods where suddenly you have a big spike in volatility, and at that point, if you have like 50 bips fee, you will be making ton of money. But overall, I think the more you increase the fee, the less regular you make your cash flows. The more you depend on higher price movements to still be able to collect those fees.
Well, if you look at October, like the fee, October was a great month for us, for fee wise and yield wise. And I think the slip fees were like between 20 and 40 bips. And that was actually, October is one of our higher volume months too.
So it wasn't this due to some exceptional events, like some of those very large swap from.
That was in November. I think October was real activity, with 10-10 and everything. The room price tanks, I don't know if that was part of it. Lots of arbitrage going on. I know Near, their volume was up. October was a big month for Near as well. That was their kind of blowout month. But we saw our volumes up too. I think the volumes in November, since those spikes were more questionable, the sources of those volume. But pretty sure October was real.
Well, one thing to consider though is like when the higher you have the BIP fee to do a trade, the kind of wider the spread is of the pool, right? Because you have the market price of Bitcoin is exactly $100,000, let's just say, but as an arbitrage, you can't get the pool to $100,000 exactly. You can only get it within, if it's like 50 bips we're charging, then you can only get it within 50 bips of $100,000. So because of that, like when you do a trade, you're like, it could work out in your favor depending which direction you're trading as an organic trader, but like it could work against your favor as well. So like to get the arbitrage to arb the pool to be correct to the market price becomes, only as close as the bips will allow it. And that can be just a worse price execution on your actual trades in the end.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things to consider in terms of this, and not just volume and fees, but also like how well we can actually execute a trade. If we were to do 1 BIP right now, we collect almost nothing in fees, but the execution should be theoretically better, just because the arbs can more accurately arb the full price.
Well, maybe an interesting experiment once we have like decent liquidity on the app layer is to set the secure asset mid-slip fee very low, but increase the regular fee quite high, and have the app layer arb against the base layer and do a lot of volumes with low fees and keep the price stable. But people who want to arb against external value need much larger price movements, or organic user will have to pay a bigger fee. I don't know if that's a good model and how sustainable that is, but it could be an interesting experiment to run.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, you pay. Oftentimes, you make money off of moving capital from impatient to patient people. And so if you were to have, the layer 1 swap fees were high and the secured asset swap fees were low, the lazy people, so to speak, who are impatient, they will swap through the layer 1 pool and, get their trade without doing the smarter thing, which is to acquire secured assets first, then do your trade and get a bit better execution. So like there's good reason to run that experiment that you're talking about, and put the L1 fees high and the secure swap fees low, and see what the result of that is.
Yeah, and by the way, historically, that's how it was most of the time in THORChain history. Sans fee and secure trade asset fee were half the fee of regular swaps, and I think it would make a lot of sense to at least go back to something like that. Yeah, if we wanted accurate pricing from base layer app layer arbitrage, the lower the secure asset needs to be, so the more accurate it will be. So yeah, exciting. We can experiment with that. Once we have the baseline, the pool rollout, and everything, like it's one step at a time. But it's yeah, all of that is happening now. I'm really excited for this year.
Yeah, me too.
It's so much better than last year, guys. But
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's year same time. Yeah, it was a different period.
I'm looking forward to it a lot. There's, I feel like we've got, yeah. If honestly, there's any like kind of like saving grace, like the crypto market being so crappy the last, several months, is that it gives us time to rebuild, right? And try new things and like it, right? So like, me finishing the swap interface, the website, doing marketing, Pragmatic Monkey, you finishing the app layer, starting to scale it. Like this is all tying in well, nicely, hopefully for the market to recover here later this year. And because if we're doing all this work in the middle of a bull market, like we wouldn't be appreciating it, right? We would, so it's nice
Absolutely.
for us. It's nice the bull market's delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cannot agree more.
Hey, Pragmatic Monkey, before you go, this was a while ago. Sorry, Jeff, but I don't know if you saw the comment. Jeff says, yo, Pragmatic Monkey looks happy. What alfalfa do you got for us, Pragmatic Monkey? So that was for you, buddy.
Well, this was a ton of alpha, right? CCL, arbitralization of arbitrage with base layer, lot of things happening. Like,
Yeah, well, Monkey can talk about bRUNE. Didn't bRUNE launch today?
yeah, so we launched and we had a discussion. Kenton, I replied to you, by the way. I think that there is an easy way to solve that, and we can do a space with them as well to ask us it. But
I'm laughing because PM and I are in a chat. We're going back and forth. I have some issues with bRUNE. So yeah.
But yeah, so it's we launched the contract live. It's not yet like we are listing a few nodes, so probably we'll get some money in tomorrow. But it's live just for us. Nobody should try to use it. We have put some caps in place anyway. But it should be a very cool mechanism. So it's not gonna for existing bond providers. I don't expect any of them to move, because if you move there, that means you get an extra 10% cut on your yield. because as a product we have to take some revenues for Jira, and you also we have the way it works is we will have a utilization ratio, and we keep always a share of the Rune deposited liquids to allow people to get in and out up to a certain size nearly instantly. So you effectively have a slightly different product, which is good for it's much more accessible for people who did not want to have to deal with all the hassle of contacting another operator, get whitelisted and other things. Here you will have something you can buy, stack, collect your yields, do whatever you want with it, collect almost block by block. So that's gonna be a cool and interesting offering. And then under the hood, it manages reserve based on a certain utilization targets. It allows you trade a bit of the yields for access to instant liquidity, and everything. It's integrated. Actually, it's a beautiful thing. Like everything we do, we try to fit it into this big puzzle we are building, and the entire bRUNE is built as a AMM strategy for registered order book. So it's just the same way we have CCN or the visualization strategy. bRUNE is also a strategy, and the way you get in under the hood is you buy actually bRUNE in the order book, even if there will be a dedicated UI and you don't even realize you are doing that. And the same way you can get out by selling it, and then the contract is able to quote you when you want to get out, depending on how much reserve it has of liquid Rune versus the target, and you can get this way instant liquidity. And the closer you have to the reserve target, the better the price you get on the way out. If there is not much, you will have a disconnect. But then we can also add people may not want to to just deposit and stack. Some may want to add liquidity in the bRUNE Rune pair and trade the volatility inside a very tight range, because you would expect the price to overall track always 1-to-1. And so it's also allowed to provide people with more liquidity on the way out, and an alternative way to make money on your Rune as well, without much risk of impermanent loss. Like it would be very tiny, assuming you always come back to one redemption rate, which should be the case every time there is a churn, more or less. You are effectively no impermanent loss, and you just make money on volatility. So that's very exciting stuff. Under the hood, it distributes the bonded Rune to all non-operators that get whitelisted. Anyone can get whitelisted. And then there is a threshold, and that was the origin of our discussion. There is a threshold fee for the bond, the non-operator, above which we start to have a decreasing function. So for now, it was set at 5%. If you have between 0 and 5% fee, everybody gets allocated equally. But above that, there is a decreasing function, and the higher the fee, the less you receive pro rata to the other. And so we had this this discussion with Kenton, and he was thinking like 5% is not enough, clearly. So totally open to increase that to whatever level makes sense for another operator to be able to profit optimally. And that's
So that
your
will be
20%.
there gives you zero function on the operator fee. It should just go evenly to all nodes that subscribe.
You put in a mechanism, because otherwise, if you don't put a limit, then some nodes will be incentivized to put just 100% fee, and they get the same allocation. So it has to be like, it makes sense. Like we have to see.
Then we shouldn't do bRUNE.
Hmm?
Then we shouldn't do bRUNE.
No, like why not? It's just net extra demand for Rune from people who did not want it to stack in the current setup. But
think about it this way: you have a node operator who collects zero fees and has all this Rune. He has no relationship with the bond providers. He has every motivation in the world to steal. That is literally a thief's wet dream. I don't have to I'm getting free Rune.
But why would he get, like, he will not get more free Rune? Like, we have this threshold, remember? So if we set the threshold at, let's say 20%, all the node operator below or up to 20% will get the exact same share. So it's not the guy with zero that get all the Rune. That's not how it works. So
Yeah.
so it's all good. It's really just a matter of tweaking the parameter to the levels that works. And I was looking at average fee, and I think it goes between 5 and 20%. We can even set it at 20%. I think that's
And because those some of the operators with low fees, they go AWOL on their BPs. Like they're nowhere to be found, right? They can't get a hold of them. Their nodes get kicked out a lot of the network. They're running on lower quality infrastructure. They don't run full nodes. They use RPC. Whereas, the operators that charge higher fees, they're available to the bond providers. They're active. They keep their equipment online. They are running full nodes. These are the guys, the operators charging higher fees. They're the ones who are going to run the full Solana nodes, right? They got to pay for that. And so you're basically subsidizing lower quality node operators. You should be subsidizing the higher quality node operators.
Well, for you, there is no way to directly know that the fee is a function of the quality of the infra. That's
Exactly.
issue. We need,
So you shouldn't discern on fee.
but so that's the thing. We can discern on fee up to a level, and then it's just agreeing of what level it is. And I think if we set it at 20%, I think everybody will be happy. I haven't seen
I thought
Schlod with
I don't remember this design at all. My understanding, it was the rune is going to be evenly distributed between all the nodes in the network. And it was just going to be like evenly.
or
between everyone.
we need to whitelist in any case post side. But no, it was like when we like it wasn't a proper design built in advance. Hans put it together in the last 2 days, and it makes sense. We have also to protect people who use this product. The same way you don't want everything to go to the guy who has 0. We don't want the guy who put 100% to also get a share and just collect 100% of this yield. So you have to find the balance. You have to put a guardrail in place to also assure that depositor that they won't get hurt. I think it works very well with the design as well. It's just a matter of calibrating this threshold to a level where everybody is comfortable.
So are you saying everybody up to the threshold gets allocated evenly?
Yeah,
Or
exactly. Everybody up to the threshold gets the same. So if you are 0% or let's say if we set the threshold at 10%, if you have 0% or 10%, you get the same. But if you have 11%, you get slightly less. But if you have 50%, you get a lot less. And if you have 90%, you get way less.
And if you're at 20%, then everyone 20 and below gets the same. But if someone does 50 or 100%, they get.
oh, because you're saying the operator, how do I say this? So 2 million rune going to an operator at 10% will make the same amount of money as 1 million rune going to an operator at 20%. That's the idea.
If the parameter is set at 20%, because then 20% and below would be equally distributed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Equally distributed on a net
All nodes.
fee, on an operator fee basis.
No, on the quantity, let's say we have 1 million root deposited in the bRUNE contracts that are going to be allocated. This 1 million will be evenly allocated between all. So effectively, we give a weight to each whitelisted operator. The max weight is 1. The minimum weight is 0. All the node operators that are below the threshold or up to the threshold, so let's say up to 20%, get a weight of 1, so they get all equally distributed. Anybody above this threshold start to get a lower and lower weight, which is a function of how far they are from this threshold.
Okay. Because I know there are some operators, like they do 100% because they're doing their own whatever, right? Like I get that. I understand that. Like,
and it will not make sense if they whitelist themselves, and then it's just like taking money from the depositor to put in their pocket. So that's why we need this mechanism.
I think it makes sense. I think it works. But the point that I brought up earlier was like with opt-in chain clients, that's why I think the 20%, it's got to be the minimum, because it's really easy when the system comes live for someone to run really like low cost infrastructure like UTXOs and Ethereum only, which is like the majority of our swap volume. They run literally nothing else, not AVAX, not Solana, not XRP, like nothing. And those, some of these are very expensive chain clients, right? So I think that's why you need it up there, because then they can justify charging a lower fee, and they're still capturing the majority of the volume because they're supporting the most common assets they're changing, like Bitcoin to Ethereum, and then the stable coins they're in, right? So I think if you go 20%, I I think that covers all the bases. I need to think about it more, but I think that's okay. I think 5% is way too low. Way too low. And it's
subsidizing with that. Yeah. So that's why it's good we have this conversation. Like,
right.
set it to a level that's feel reasonable.
Capping the bRUNE at 10% of the bonded supply, that's okay. That's better. So for the listeners that are wondering why I'm a bit against all this is because I'm well, one, if we're relaxing the hard cap, it's less need for more rune and to be bonded, right? You know, the value of rune bonded matters less and less the more we relax the hard cap. And what matters more is the relationship with the bond providers and the node operators. And so we need to be incentivizing BPs to have a relationship with the nodes, not incentivizing them to avoid it. And the reason, so node operators can still stay private and anonymous to the network, but I think they got to be doxed to their BPs because their BPs help keep them honest. And so just like we're just kind of saying like laws of like probability, what's the likelihood of the 2/3 of the node operators actually including, right? Well, if you add in all their BPs, now you can make the case, oh, there's probably like 20 or 30 people in the nodes could get together and control THORChain. But if you add in their various BPs, now you're getting up to maybe 50 people, right? So like, it gets harder and harder for that many people to collude without somebody tattling on everyone else. So but if a node operator is divorced from their BP and their BP has no idea who the node operator is, there's no way for the BP to hold that node operator accountable if that guy goes rogue and does steal. So yeah,
I'm not 100% sure this is a good enough reason why you would block it, because even like you don't really dox yourself. Like you are doxed, people know your face, who you are, and all that. But I think most of the node operator, even if they exchange a few DM on Telegram to get the whitelists, that's not really being doxed, and that doesn't mean
I know it's not. That's my point. Is like the network is already insecure as it is, and so
that's why I think it doesn't increase this risk. It's just by nature, like when you run a decentralized network, anybody can run a node. That's a concept, and I don't think like it's a very specific thing to THORChain to have a very complicated system to access stacking. If you look at other Cosmos chain with the star stacking module, it's very easy. Like everybody can delegate to any nodes, change along the way.
I know we can't compare ourselves to other proof of stake chains because they're not securing external assets. This is the whole point of the Rune token and bonding to begin with, right? We're securing external assets. And so again, my issue with bRUNE is, okay, we started at 10% cap of the bond, but everybody likes it. Everybody wants to use it. It's convenient. It's easy. It's great. Let's go to 15%. Oh, hey, guys, this is great. Let's go to 20%. And we just keep inching our way, and we're raising the hard cap. We just keep making everything so much more insecure. And yeah,
the 10% cap for like it was proposed in the ADR 20. I think we can say that we won't increase it unless there's another ADR to that decide to do that. But if there is a fair distribution, like if we say the feed parameter at 20%, the threshold for node fees, then even if we assume 100% of the supply was to go to a bRUNE contract, it would just be an intermediate layer that facilitates deposits and withdrawal to and from bonding Rune. But the dispersion of that would still be pro rata to all the nodes that are listed.
Okay, we'll say this a different way. If we add 10% more Rune to the bond, node operators don't make any extra money, right? There's a finite amount of fees. The operators, everyone's still going to make the same. The node operators still make the same amount of money. The existing bond providers are going to see their yield go down 10% because now they're diluted with 10% more Rune entering the network. So like there's no extra, like node operators don't make any extra money, and BPs are going to get diluted. So if I'm an existing BP, I don't want this. I don't want my position being diluted, right? The only real reason we would want more rune bonded is if we're at the cap. If we're at the hard cap and we can't get any more liquidity in the pools, then fine. Okay, we need more rune. We are not in that position. We have more than enough security. We were increasing the hard cap above the liquidity. We don't need more rune. More rune is just going to dilute everyone else. So, like, as an existing bond provider, I don't want any more rune bonded.
No, but
I want more yield. So
so you are seeing that from your perspective of an existing bond provider, but what you are assuming is that people will get out of or they will have old rune somewhere and they were not bonding, and now they will just bond their rune without buying it. But what I will expect is people who are already bonded, they are not gonna change because they're not gonna. They already did the hard work. They're already getting a better yield. They are not gonna get the cut. So the people who will want to use that were people who were not bonded before, and I don't think there is much people that are interested in bonding and are not already bonded and still buy rune and just hold rune and do nothing with it. So most likely, if the product take off, it will come with acquisition of your rune. So you will have an impact, which would be an accretion of rune price because there is new demand because people are buying to deposit it to be rune. So I think it's a net positive for everyone, even if the yield get diluted. If rune price goes up, the liquidity in the base layer pool goes up, and the volumes and fees to node operator are similar.
I disagree. No one's buying rune to do this. It's going to be existing rune holders that the only people paying attention are going to know that this exists is people that actually pay attention to THORChain. Those people own rune. There is nobody that is paying attention to this that owns 0 rune. Like that for maybe 1 out of 100.
I send you a screenshot of someone in our community earlier. There is one community that pay a lot of attention to THORChain, but not necessarily as rune, and that's the Rujira community. And a lot of people there were recurringly pushing for bRUNE because they were interested, but they don't want, like, they wanted the easy system that they were used to in the Cosmos. And so there is at least this little pocket of people who are interested and that will need to buy rune to get in.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. So I've in the last few months I've bought and sold a few million rune and did nothing to the price. So like I don't think 5 million buy on rune is going to do much.
Yeah, no, it's not going to change much for like it's like
what? What'd you just say? Sorry guys, I'm being real.
No. I'm not even now. It's like you've always pushed hard against the inflation of rune because it was pushing the price down. And now you're telling me that you bought and sold millions of rune and it had no effect to the price. What?
Touche. Well, yeah. Well, okay. Doing screening slots is really efficient.
Well, I've always said that the inflation was.
Well, but it's I'm not inflating the supply, right?
No, but just like there's the amount of rune being that the inflation was putting pressure on the rune prices so infinitesimally small that it really had no effect on the price.
I think in the short term, yeah, I agree. But in the long term, like adding a third of the supply, that does affect its value. I'm wondering. Anyway, I'm against bRUNE, you guys. I don't want the dilution on my bond provider position. If I was a bond provider, I would be against it because I'm going to get diluted. I'm going to get less yield. So
there is a problem that I am finding because there is something that's a really good thing that's happened is people have stepped up to become node operators, like far faster than I realized. Like people got the message and people are stepping up. I am struggling finding people to want to bond provide to these people. And the reasons are obvious, right? This is a new node operator. So, should I bond my rune to somebody who probably might get more splash points? They still have to go through this learning curve, right? This has been something I've thought a lot about. And I'm not sure on the relationship between bRUNE helping this along, because if they were the whitelist it could help them because these node operators aren't just like popping out of the bushes. These are people who like talk to RuneTard or other reputable members of the community. Now, of course, it's not a zero. There's like still risk there, but my problem is like I want to get these people bond. I want to get them to turn it. I want them to get that experience because the only way you become a better node operator is you node operate, right? That's how you do it. And so I'm wondering if there could be some benefit here where maybe it can help them say turned in later if they whitelist. But then again, I am very partial to Kenton's argument about the slippery slope, right? Like I think we need to establish this now, like 10% and no more. You know what I mean? Like, and that's hard because the node operators control the network, but I yeah, it's hard to calculate in my brain. Like I don't know how to forecast this because there's so many unknown unknowns, right? Does that make sense?
I think like keeping it at 10% for me is perfectly fine. So this is really not the product that's gonna make Rujira big, and this is just a side quest because it's cool and because it gives people in our community, at least there was a demand for that, and it gives them an easy access to stacking Rune, and that's really the point.
I will go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy. I will go to your argument, pragmatic, because Kenton, that is true. I have had many people in DM ask about bRUNE. They just don't, for whatever reason, they do not like the whitelist process and all. They just don't, and I get that. Yeah.
People, I guarantee you, people would way rather do that. And that's why I said it has to be the bond providers that go directly to nodes. They definitely have to make more yield than people in bRUNE.
They will definitely. I told you, like we did the math earlier. It was like roughly a 30% cut. So there's definitely a cost for the convenience.
Coke, you joined the stage. You have something to say?
Yeah, I really don't want to get between Kenton and PM, but speaking about 10%, speaking about yield, dilute, we have TCY, it's 10%. Like, no need to worry, just buy TCY, stake, unstake tomorrow, sell it today, sell it tomorrow. We have the solution for bRUNE. That's it. Thank you.
Great point. Like they can get TCY and get yield. You know, they don't like.
How do I? Okay, let's let me don't change the subject, but okay, how do I get new node operators BPs? How do I do? Like I floated the idea before about maybe the reserve being subsidizing with 301. Like I cannot figure this out. Like because I'm running out of people. Like, oh, by the way, shout out to the community. Thank you to everyone who stepped up and has bonded to a Rune that sorry, node operator that's new at my request and other people's requests. Like thank you so much. But like, how do I get these node operators more bond? Like I'm reaching out, but that's a hard sell. That's a very hard sell to do. Like when they go on Rune Bond, they don't know that. Like they don't know because I know Rune Bond. We try that as well. But it's that initial amount to get churned into the network. That's the hiccup. Not necessarily what happens on Rune Bond, but that initial churn in, like that 300K Rune, that sometimes can be hard to get. And well, 300 Rune is the 300K is the minimum. You know what I mean? And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to turn in. Go ahead, Kenton. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to make a joke. Like, you know, there's a site from the RuneBond.com. That's where, dude, I sympathize. You know, we want new node operators. We want more decentralization. I agree. I get that. You know, how do we pair those with BPs?
Because that's the crux of the argument, right? Because you're worried about malfeasance with this bRUNE imperative. Fair concern, but from my from how I calculate in my brain, the first principal thing is if we just increase the decentralization of the network with reputable people, of course. I mean, if you inject bad people, that makes things less secure. Let's assume they're reputable. RuneTard, these people have been in our community for years, which have been the people. Then that just makes it so much harder to capture the network, and that just alleviates. Maybe just makes a lot of the conversation points moot. Like for me, like the most important thing I could do, not necessarily Chad's going to build things and do cool shit. So it's Pragmatic Monkey, but just get more node operators, more. I know I mean, it's a debate. Like if yield is low, we don't want more node operators because that dilutes everyone. There's a give and take there. But assuming Rujira kicks ass, we get more volume. Like we got to scale node operators. Like just get that magic number up.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I think I get where you're going with this. If we could like allocate bRUNE to these new people and get them going, that would be great.
Maybe they want to get whitelisted on bRUNE, and they get a share of whatever is in the contract, and that's
Were
a
you
very easy way.
when you're whitelisting? Are people doxed to you? Like, is this
No.
process?
It will be permissionless eventually. There's
Okay,
no
well,
thing, and we don't want to have to handle that. That's,
because I mean, what's to stop any of us from spinning up a new node, a new node operator address? Say, hey guys, I'm a new node operator. Give me some rune for my bond. Meanwhile, we're just milking the system.
But-
How do we know is it a genuine
No,
real?
you could do that, but you still need to meet the parameters to be an active node already and other things. So it's still would take some efforts, but I mean, from a network security point of view, it doesn't change whether you do that as not using bRUNE or using bRUNE. It doesn't change anything. It's,
But I think for me to be sold on this, like if it's just more rune going to the existing nodes, I don't see that adding any benefit to the network. If it was rune going to genuine new node operators to help decentralization, all right, then maybe we can say, guys, it is worth 10% haircut on our yield because we all agree more more unique nodes, the better.
There's a benefit here of like, just to make an argument here, that if you have the technical skill to be a node operator, but you don't know, you don't know how to find providers. I know that, Kenton, you and other people have been kind of a facilitator of that, but it's like, if I have a technical skill, but I don't have any friends in effect, right? Then I can go ahead and I can build a node and then, use the bRUNE system to, bond my node, and I can make money even though I don't even own that much rune myself or don't have any friends that own rune. I can but still be a contributor in a technical sense.
What if bRUNE wasn't permissionless and we actually did kind of dictate where it went, and we put in some effort to put it towards the new unique node operators.
They need to have bond providers, right? Like that's what bond providers is like a slightly doxed way of bonding. And we made it whitelisting because we didn't want it to be permissionless, because if we make it permissionless, then it becomes feasible for some entity to some maybe THORChain Bull would be a good example, because that nobody knows who THORChain Bull really is. It's a real identity, but he's also kind of a famous person within our community, and he runs a bunch of nodes, and everybody starts bonding with his nodes because he's THORChain Bull and he's awesome. And then THORChain Bull just yanks a bunch of liquidity and runs away with all the money, right? But there's caps in the bRUNE system to ensure that doesn't happen, it sounds like. But I don't know. It's like I have less concern about this kind of rugging scenario, just because of the way nodes are chosen and how keys are derived in a combination with our intention to move to DKLS and having less Asgards makes it even more difficult. Things can always be better. Things can always be more decentralized. Things can be always more secure. But where things are now, I am not terribly concerned. This is not a top concern of mine of node operators, rugging funds. It just seems like it's not impossible, of course, but it's just not in my top 5 things that I'm most concerned about.
I think it's really not the security is not really the concern here, especially with 10%. It's more Kenton, you don't want the yield to be diluted on your board, which makes sense from your perspective. But honestly, I don't think this is just gonna give access to bonding route to people who would have not done it otherwise. It will be net new demands. I don't think it's gonna hurt the yield much, and I don't think it's gonna scale to.
Well, so let's say you're right. Times the demand, everybody loves it, and it caps out right away. And there's gonna be a lot of pressure. We should go to 15%, go to 20, let's go to 25.
If there is an idea from nodes to agree to increase the cap, then it would be up to the nodes to decide. But
Exactly.
I mean, can I say just something, guys? we are at the moment deciding or like trying to argue where the yield from the bRUNE will go. But we should actually cycle back. What's the reason of bRUNE? As I told before, we had TCY, guys. As long as we
Yeah,
have,
true. But
we have
TCY. Yeah, I understand, but there's a side quest here, right? And you can't bond TCY to turn in. So I'm trying to figure out like if there is a unique.
TCY is even TCY is even better than bonding. What do you
No.
bond in?
Well, I'm
You
talking
wanna-
about
I-
new node operators.
Yeah,
turning them in.
at the moment, in that case, we're trying to have two different calls, and we're trying to collude them to have this one merge to go forward. I think we should separate. We should have should have our own strategy to get new node operators on board. Also, when you said 300 rune before, that's actually a false argument, because you have to have at the moment 710.
No, that's my point. That's my
710 to keep churning
Right.
in.
That's my point. And I'm trying to figure out where did this rune come in for new node operators to get them not only to churn in, but to stay churned in, because they need to experience several churn cycles in order to get good, right? And so that to me has been like I'm racking my brain, because we have to either incentivize new node operators or subsidize them in some way, because the good graces of THORChads who give their BPs, like I've done it myself, right? I've taken bond from Kenton's. No, I love Kenton's. It's such a great node operator, and I have put it to another node to increase the decentralization. I've told him about it. He says, "Yeah, that's fine. Totally get it." But that's finite. I'm running out of people to do that, and so this is me just like making a call out. Like I was because like a Kenton adding another node does not increase the decentralization. That just gives him more potential voting share, right? Which
Yeah, but at the same time, we have to evaluate what does the decentralization mean for us. How much do we really need it? And
we need it. We need it. It's the most important thing we could do,
Yeah.
in my opinion. If we increase unique node operators, then THORChain, you just can't. It's just too hard to capture. Our biggest defense is decentralization right now. Since we're giving up,
But do we need it that much that we have to like tailor a new way them to come on board? Because at the same time, we have to keep in mind, if we want to have decentralization, we want those people who come in have their stakes as well there, so they just don't come in and get bootstrapped and then they try to collude or just try to leave or milk the system as well. It's like a fine balance.
I think it might be solution could be like Kenton's earlier arguments in previous spaces, where you can get an institution involved, right? And then that an institution does not have problem getting 700,000 or 1 million rune at all, right? That would be, at this price, it would not be much of a capital investment for them. I don't know, right? I'm trying to use the resources I have with this community to try and push this, and that's where I'm struggling, because because RuneTard gives up his own BPs. This is how crazy awesome our node operators are. And other node operators have done too. I'm not going to dox them. They don't want to be doxed. They surrender their own BPs to these node operators to get them to turn in and to stay turned in. Like the community we have is unbelievable. Like we are blessed with the most amazing community. And I just want to try and make it so they not have to sacrifice their own revenue in an altruistic manner. But that's how much they care. You're like, we're blessed. We're blessed.
That's beautiful. I didn't know that. This is impressive.
Yes.
And I understand this, but at the moment we are mixing up PM's side quest and your side quest in the one thing. I think to resolve PM's and the Rujira network side quest, we should say like, hey, buy TCY. But then we should come up with better solution for you, Danny, and for our community. Just not to mix those two. That's what I have in mind.
I understand. I'm not taking issue with that at all. I think this is something that Chad said many years ago, and that is like the first principle decisions we make right now determine the future of THORChain. If we want THORChain to be the real infrastructure of the world to last decades from now, long will be gone, right? Like we won't be doing the space anymore. It'll be this huge super organism of just free-flowing liquidity across the world, where we all match. Like you should not need me, you should not need Kenton, you should not need Chad. It should just work, right? The decisions we make today are so important, and that's why like Kenton bringing up the fact like, okay, it's 10% today. What's tomorrow bring? Like we're gonna go 15, 20%. Like the decisions we make like right now are essential. They're so powerful. and they determine the fate. So that's kind of like it's kind of all in one conversation. It's really convoluted. I understand them. I'm sorry for the listeners who are like we're all over the place, but like it's really a huge pie. You know what I mean? And there's so many things to consider with these kind of conversations.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like the PMs and the Ruggira side of the community, I think they're really well fed with the pieces of pies. Just buy TCY, stake it, and it's and first of all, you don't have to churn out. You can stake it now. You can unstake tomorrow. It's actually the best of the best. You're even above the bond providers. But yeah, Danny's point of view, how to increase the decentralization. Yeah, I think this strategy has to be more think of. But
You're typing. Yeah.
maybe bRUNE is not the best. Like having this decision. How
Really is happening anyway, but it's not something I will try to push. And this is really like a side quest. It was GP who initiated that by the way, and that's why it has been happening. It was on the roadmap. This is not gonna be the big stuff. It would be up to people to decide if they want bRUNE or TCY. But the entire construct of it and what we are discussing with this parameter earlier is at the end, the existence of bRUNE doesn't change anything. It's just like a convenient way to access bond providers, node operators for people who don't want to do the classic way, and it comes at a cost, and it has the benefit of instant liquidity. But that's very much it. It's not like
and maybe people buy Rune to use bRUNE, and that causes the price of Rune to go up, which makes everyone happy, right? Like the best thing for everyone's Rune is to go up in price. So we'll see if it creates some buy pressure. I mean, I'm willing to see what happens.
Guys, I have another meeting starting in a few minutes.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for your time, Chad. This is 3 hours, dude. You're a rock star. Thank you, man.
Yeah, we've been around for a while. But I'll see you guys next Thursday.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
buy it. I think I'm gonna now as well. Like it has been a long time. I wasn't planning to stay on.
I'm so glad that you came up. I'm so glad. And I just say one thing, and I will drop off as well. I have nothing against bRUNE. I'm not the bond provider. I'm just saying I think there is a TCY for the community, and then there is the other problem attacking the decentralization, and maybe those two objectives should be separated. And yeah,
And pragmatic.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. Oh, hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And pragmatic Mike, I tagged you in Telegram to come up, and I really appreciate you coming up because this is like so important. Like when we talk about these things in the open, I just love when like we get both Ruggira and THORChain dev and team together and we chat in the open. Like that just like because everyone understands, because I don't want the conversation to be bifurcated, because like if like Kenton's against bRUNE, like how a Ruggiran guy might interpret that is different than, because like, it like we have like concerns, right? We don't want to inject something that's unhealthy for THORChain, because something that's unhealthy for THORChain is ultimately unhealthy for the app player. But at the same time, like it's so good that we got this back and forth and we can hear each other's concerns. So thank you for coming up, dude. I really
My
appreciate it.
pleasure, really. Always good to get six ups live, and also it was super cool to be there with Chad and speak about bigger, I think, more important stuff at the moment, which are how we increase volumes and improve pricing. And I think that's for me that's really what excites me this year. Like bRUNE is really a small little thing on the side that we said we would do. That was in ADR 20s that we now did, and then we can go back to focusing on the stuff that will actually contribute more to revenue and volumes.
ADR 20 is that was originally Autobond, right?
Right, the same stuff here. We call it bRUNE was the name for the Autobahn contract here.
Yeah. So the whole Autobond concept came up while we had a hard cap. And the idea was to get more room bonded so we can have more room in the network for more liquidity. Now that we've blown past the hard cap and we're going, what are we at 1.5 right now? There's no need to add more Rune necessarily. We really need more Rune in the network if we're at the hard cap, and we're nowhere near it. So adding more Rune doesn't all it does is just dilute the existing.
It will probably not add much more RUNE anyway. And I mean, now we discuss it. We can do a space on that if you want. But in any case, I think it's really a matter of agreeing on the parameter, and your dilution won't be real dilution because you will get a pro rata share of what is added. So net, it dilutes the revenue per bond provider, but you as a node operator, you still get
Node operators will make the same money. It's a watch for them. It's the bond providers that will earn less.
If there is more bond and the revenue doesn't go up and the price doesn't go up, then it dilutes a bit the pie. But I really don't think this will be material.
It will.
Yeah.
I was just trying to do the math for Coke. Because if 10% of the bond, so if right now, if bonding gets 15% APY, and how do I do this math? I'm trying to, sorry.
Well, 10% dilution will be 1.5% less, right? So 13.5% APY. No, that doesn't make sense because it's dilution. I need more coffee.
It's 13.
Coffee?
Yeah, compared to TCY is 10%. I'm trying to think how to equate
TCY is kind of like a different animal. It's cool, but I don't know. It's not a direct correlation, but I understand that it also has the shared circumstance, so you don't need to whitelist or churn in, churn out, blah, blah, blah. And only a certain percentage of bRUNE can be like, you can't just take all of it out. Like that'll be capped, right? Pragma. So like say a bunch of people who are bRUNE, they just for whatever reason they just want to pull out. There's a point where they hit a wall because it's RUNE, smart contract, and then the smart contract's what churns in. Like there's RUNE actually churning into the network and has to churn out. It's only the side allocation, right? So there is
you will need. You can only withdraw what is up to what is available in the reserve, and then you.
What was Kento's question?
So I think I might have figured it out. So we all know 10% of network revenue goes to TCY.
Exactly.
So 70, I think the pendulum is pegged towards nodes right now. So 75%, let's just say 75% of yield goes to nodes, 0 to pools. Okay, so we're at max. We're max. If bRUNE is 10% of the bonded RUNE, that means bRUNE is going to get 10% of that 75. So bRUNE is getting 7.5% of the total network revenue, compared to TCY getting 10% of the network revenue.
So it will actually be a bit less because you have always this buffer with the target. But even if that's the case, it doesn't like
because I will
yet you put like bRUNE, like if it was a different participant taking from the network, but bRUNE is just bonding with validator. Like you can think of bRUNE as a bunch of people who decided to together put money to a wallet, trusted one of them, or use Multisig to put RUNE together into a wallet. 3 of them control this wallet, and then they decide to distribute those RUNEs to various node operator. It's the exact same stuff. That's it. It's not a new player that enter and change the economics. It's just give a different way for people to become bond provider. That's really like, I don't know why we make such a big deal out of it. Like there's a fear of dilution, and it can happen. It could happen the exact same way with just like somebody was doing that as a side quest. It's the same as the RUNE bonds.
I get that. Like, so we could have brand new nodes enter the network with 5-10 million RUNE and it dilutes everybody else. I agree, but like that's those are the rules of the network, right? Why, as a bond provider, would I vote to make it easier, add a new feature, and make it easier for myself to get diluted? Like,
so in that case, you're also against RUNE bonds.
I do have one question.
It's the exact same thing. By the way, we'll have also a version of this contract. It will be able to be split to have the version that will be run by RUNE bonds that is per node operator, so people can still choose the node operator they want.
if it results as a BP, you can think of it like this. If it results in new node operators being able to acquire Rune to stay turned in, for me, then that increases decentralization of the network, which means my Rune is more secure. It makes my investment more secure. There's many layers to this. Like it's
Yeah, that I could buy.
you know what I mean?
And Kenton, it's not right away 10% because it has to cap the 10%. Then it's gonna be 10%.
I think it's worth a shot.
Because
gonna
let's say only 1,000 rune will be converted into bRUNE. Then there is going to be 1,000 rune against all the node operators bonded runes ratio, right? PM.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that means if somebody's if you're gonna hit the limit of 10%, that means a lot of rune will be most likely bought off the market as well, and it will push the price higher. That's the PM's argument as well. It increases the price.
I doubt there is currently a community of people holding 10% of the supply of Rune sitting in their wallet waiting for.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Same here.
I think there's a lot of people like that.
And do you think those people are just waiting for bRUNE?
But my question, Kenton, in that sense, my question is why those people are not already holding TCY when it was below 10% of the, it was like 7% of the Rune market cap. Why didn't those people snag to the TCY, stake it right away, so they had discount of price and they have no churn outs, no nothing. They get all the yields. In that sense, this argument falls apart.
Maybe they don't want to own TCY, they want to own Rune. But again,
Why it's the same?
Rune bond as well. It's
well, so when like, you gotta understand, guys, when you talk to investors, and I've talked to like hundreds, if not thousands of them by now, in general, like people do the dumbest, weirdest, illogical, irrational things. Like to do stuff that just doesn't make sense. And it's like, but let's just do the math. They don't care. They're not interested in the math. They're interested in what's in their head and justifying their current position. So I guarantee you there's people that are sitting on Rune who don't want to reach out to me or anyone else. They don't want to like be whitelisted. They don't want to talk to anybody. They want to do it automatic through a smart contract like bRUNE. And I'll be shocked if there's any results in any new buying of Rune. I think there'll be a majority of existing Rune holders will think finally, and they'll be happy with getting less yield because they want to be liquid. They don't want to be stuck in a node. They don't have to deal with anybody. And who knows? Maybe there's tax reasons they don't sell Rune to buy TCY. I don't know. But maybe because it's illiquid, right? So TCY is super illiquid. It's tough to buy in, any kind of decent.
No, it's okay if you buy with a streaming swap or limit order. But in your thinking process, it means like there's a people who are like waiting like from $4 to $8, just waiting the Rune to dump. They don't want to have yield. They just hold for whatever reason. It's dumping. It's down minus 90%. They still don't want to reach out and they still don't want to sell. I think it's, I know you have had friends, most likely, that you have like investors and that you spoke to, but it's kind of, I think we're really down into the dumps right now, and I think this argument doesn't hold up that well anymore.
Coke, this is my job. I manage money for people. I've been doing this for 15 years now, and like I'm telling you, people do the weirdest, stupidest things that don't make any sense.
Yeah, me too.
Like I guarantee you, I've had this with new bond providers that they don't know why they didn't do this sooner. They've been sitting on Rune for how many years now? But the last guy I just brought on, he had like 80,000 Rune. He's like, I just was not sure, didn't know how to do it, didn't want to talk to you, whatever. And he's been sitting on it this whole time. And after I got him on, he's like, God, I can't believe it. Why didn't I do this 4 years ago? And I'm like, yeah, why didn't you? And
How do you evaluate like the terms of people that you meet and how much are actually facing the same problem, like having the Rune torment, not they just write the wave down, they never sell, but the only issue is like, oh, I don't know how to bond it.
In the dev Discord, this has been a common theme the last like several years. Everyone has asked, we got to be able to stake like every other proof of stake chain. It should be easy to bond and unbond, right? People have been asking this for years. So I'm not saying I don't know if there's going to be a flood of people doing this. It's probably going to be hard to get the message out. But the point I'm trying to make is, I don't think anyone's going to go out and buy Rune just to do this. I think it's going to come from existing Rune holders once they figure out they can do this. And
Well, I will be really surprised if we can get to 10% of the bonded runes with only people that already have those runes. So I'll take the other side of.
Okay, so what's the wager here? It's whoever loses eat to shush live on stream.
Very up to verify, but
And I am actually thinking the other way, like maybe we can have like a smart contract that you put your rune in, it goes actually secretly into the TCY, they don't know. And then they have the yield, and then like we have this pool, TCY rune pool, somehow like they get.
it would be a bit misleading. But
at least Kenton friends will be happy. No, I'm just joking, but
I like back to your argument about TCY. So again, if you're a new investor and you have to choose between buying bRUNE or buying TCY, you're probably better off buying TCY. You're gonna get a better percentage.
exactly.
But a lot of people won't. They'll just have Rune in their mind and they think bonding is better, and they'll just go do that. Like people often
I think it's a marketing issue.
People often purchase the worse item than the better one just because of their own irrationality. So
Well,
you're right, isn't there? Go ahead, Patrick.
Well, I was gonna say there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack there because they can look at the previous price performance of TCY and see that it's gone frequently. Like, how low did it go? Did it go like 5-6% at some point?
7.5.
Okay, 7.5. They may look at that and say, man, TC, why did it dump that much? That doesn't make sense. And they're like, and maybe they're calculating like, oh, if I buy TCY, even though the yield's better, but maybe the price will dump, right? Relative. And in case I have to liquidate, you know what I mean? Like it's really complicated when you think about it like that. I mean, but you're absolutely right about your logic. If you're in for the long haul and you want yield, that's what you would do, right?
Yeah, I think we're all for. I think we're really well aware about the
Let's see what happens.
THORChain, and we're just trying to irrationate what other people are going to do. So it's a lose game anyway.
It's a fun conversation. I know Pragmatic Monkey said you got to leave. I don't want you to feel pressure to be here. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I didn't heard enough. Yeah.
No, my pleasure, guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'll go, but I'm sure we will talk about that again.
Yeah. Come back next Thursday. Maybe. Okay. I don't want to sit. You know what to do about it.
I will make sure to trigger him. Bye.
5 p.m.
3 hours and 13 minutes, you guys, for a live frame. Not too bad. Nice seeing your guys' faces. I think it makes it more, I can tell the verbicues when I can start speaking. You know what I mean? That was always a pro at Spaces. Constantly interrupting each other. So good.
We got to get Chad to next time to the camera.
We got to see his beautiful face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, he could sing for us too. He could play his piano. Like he could do so many things. I mean, we get wild here.
Yeah. Well, should we start wrapping it up?
100%. It's been a long-winded, lot of topics, a lot of good arguments. I mean, a lot of good topics because I think going back to TCY, although I'm like a strong pusher of TCY, I remember when actually TCY was first introduced to the system, and I was not sure who is TCY gonna be discontinued. Is it just a short like solution? What's gonna happen? And actually, like I think it was like 2 months in, I finally understood. Okay, TCY is not going to go anywhere. And there was a lot of this like free kind of discussions going here and there. And I'm speaking from the community side. Of course, maybe whoever made the ADR, the ALUX, they knew right away like TCY is not going anywhere. But from the community side, I was kind of not sure the future of TCY. and it's been an interesting cycle coming back now, understanding how it works. So it takes a lot of months, a lot of spaces, a lot of months being in community to understand how things work. So I think we have to take the time to make sure that people understand what's going on, how THORChain works, what's the goals and stuff like that. And that's why I think for me the bRUNE is another TCY, just understanding how it works, what's the implications. Kenton brings up his worries. PM has his upside and his goals that he has to meet. And yeah, I really enjoyed that discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being part
All
of
right,
it,
Phil.
man. And shout out to the community here. If you guys like, just tell us, how was our first live stream? Give us some feedback. We believe in maximal transparency. We talk about any and every topic. We don't obfuscate nothing. We'll talk about any pain point or any success we've ever had. We do not care. We want to be maximally transparent. That is the core ethos of THORChain. It's always going to be that way. As far as if I have something to say about it, we're always talk about whatever subject we can. So I hope you guys have really liked this live stream. Okay, Kenton, what do you say? Should I just do the outro here and we'll wrap her?
Yep.
Let's do it, man. Okay, guys. So then this Saturday, we're gonna have Swap DK aggregator. They're gonna be coming on Saturday. The next week, well, THORSday every Thursday, obviously, but the next Saturday, we're gonna have Bio Labs. They're having a launch. We're gonna be talking about that. And then February 14th, shout out to the Ruggiero boys and girls. Auto Ruggiero is going to be joining us here. We're going to be talking about the automated automated process. And guys, if you're another project there, maybe on the Ruggiero side, you want to have a space on Saturday, or it's going to be a live stream, if we can, a live stream with Riverside, please let me know. We'll get you guys scheduled. If you got something cooking you want to know, or any of our partners, please just reach out. We just want to have people. We want to have topics to talk about because we're sometimes we run out of things. I mean, right? So with that being said, guys, hey, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. We'll see you Saturday. Bye-bye now.